Chapter 591. Really? Tang Tian asked again. Bing scolded mercilessly. In front of him, Wang Zhuan, Shi Yong and the rest lowered their heads like obedient students. They were not the least bit unconvinced. Master Bing was a famed general, and to be able to receive their scolding, it was a supreme honor. All of them replied at once, causing Bing to have the urge to facepalm as expected of a motley crew. But whatever goes into the pot, Bing did not ask for much and impatiently waved his hand. Go. From now on. Tang Tian, who felt that he had successfully proven that he did not have money, was in a good mood. One must know to convince all of them, the difficulty was definitely higher than a battlefield. Tang Tian was already lazy to speak. Bang, he threw out an Empyrean ice tree branches half the height of a person. Bang, he threw out another Empyrean ice tree branches half the height of a person. The Shang continent did not suffer any damage, causing Wang Zhuan and the rest to heave a sigh of relief. Master cannot prove it. Shi Xian had a, "I am calm, please be calm" expression on his face. After being stunned for a few minutes, Shi Xian mechanically turned his face, revealing an expression that was uglier than crying. Master, I am not sure now whether they are worth money or not. Bullshit. This training plan is a pile of bullshit. Tang Tian was completely speechless. He stared at Shi Xian, unable to speak for a long time. So Tang Tian, who had won the war, was naturally happy. Bing waved his hand, his killing intent soaring. 32% synchronization rate, is that a joke? Master, this does not require much money. The current market for underworld continent demonic mounts is not high. They are very cheap, 2 million cloud coins. We can definitely recruit one. This subordinate knows where to recruit real demonic mounts. We just need to recruit 60 more, no 50 more, even 30 will do. After a period of time our fighting strength will definitely. Shi Xian advised bitterly. Shi Xian had already regained his senses. He was used to being poor, and suddenly being rich made him feel uncomfortable. Now that he had returned to the starting point, he felt an indescribable sense of relief. But everyone knew the commotion this time was too big, and the vast star continent would definitely not let it go. The attack that followed would definitely be extremely fierce, and everyone was filled with worry. Worry was worry, but at this point there was no room for retreat. Conscripting commoners, 10 out of 10 returned to 1. Now that the 8th army had been destroyed, it was not strange for the vast star continent to massacre the Shang continent to vent their anger. Just thinking about managing a territory gave him a headache, and the thing he was least afraid of was war. Tang Tian was very unhappy with Shi Xian's stare, and he forcefully repeated the fact that he had no money. You people are so annoying. The young man has long been annoyed with the matter of making money, okay? After thinking for a long time, he still had no clue. He was already annoyed enough. Hey, what do you mean by that expression? That dull face. Is he mocking me for being poor? The 36th army was originally a weak army. The standards of the soldiers were low, and when Shi Xian was in charge in the past, his daily training was rather tight. But after Sun Jing made him a mere figurehead, the entire army became rotten. Their will to fight was very weak, and with Sun Jing and Shi Xian's appearance, these fellows all surrendered. Bing decided to find Crazy Tang to discuss the next step of the plan. Just as he walked out of the room, he heard Crazy Tang's roar. When Shi Xian heard this, he almost vomited blood. He stared at Tang Tian in a daze, thinking that he had heard wrongly. But he never thought that the master would actually say that he had no money. It is extremely valuable. Shi Xian replied with certainty. He patted Shi Xian's shoulder and consoled him with sincere and heartfelt words. Don't be discouraged, we are still in the initial stage. Although we are poor now, everything will get better in the future. The group of people scattered like birds. Calm down, I have to calm down. No money. He felt that his suggestion was in the bag. The current underworld continent's demonic mounts in the market were hard to differentiate, and their reputation was bad, causing their prices to shrink. To a tyrant like Master Meng Nan, this bit of expenditure was not even comparable to the equipment on their bodies. I have no money. I told you I have no money. Tang Tian was furious. This group of people was so annoying. It was too cruel. Since war was unavoidable, then he had to think of ways to increase his own strength. He was extremely confident in Master Meng Nan because he understood the power of money. Tang Tian's fingers grabbed randomly in the air. He stared with his mouth wide open. He felt that he was going crazy. Definitely. Shi Xian was determined. In truth, he was not surprised. The master had built the Black Castle here, and that was already a clue. Shersen's expression was uglier than crying. The origin mark box that contained law fragments was a box. The Empyrean ice tree spear that was the strongest weapon of the blue dwarves was a bundle. Master Mengman's wealth was so immense that even the vast star continent, which was known for its commerce, could not contend against him. But wasn't the savage continent known for its backwardness? Seems like the rumors were not to be trusted. He was also a man who was never satisfied, and his current situation was much better than before. Evening snow ocean, black wind blade, winged armor, origin mark box, fake Empyrean ice tree spear, etc. All of these were things that he did not even dare to think about in the past. He had already begun to expand his army. He swept a glance at the 36th army, and only took 2 people and left. The 2 of them were recommended by Shersen. Their standards were not bad, they were honest and upright, and Sun Jing did not like them, but after Bing inspected them they were truly capable. I will definitely train to death. You said that thing is worth a lot of money? Tang Tian suddenly asked. Sun Zheng and the rest surrender made the following battles extremely easy. Yes. Whatever master says is true. An honest man with a stubborn heart. Shersen was completely confused. No money? Does that word have anything to do with you, master? How can you say that word out of master's mouth? Master, are you really not joking? Why do you look so innocent and angry? The Empyrean ice tree spear is such a valuable weapon for master to be able to take out a bundle of them. It is impossible that you do not have money. Shersen gave out sufficient evidence. If he could replenish some of the underworld continent's demonic mounts, adding the luxurious equipment, Shersen was extremely confident in the upcoming battle. Weak army strength? No problem, the weak army had their own ways of fighting. No one was clearer than him about the ways of fighting a war, as it was something he was most proficient in. The bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears had shocked Shersen, and he spent the entire night digesting it. He thought that he would not lose his composure like yesterday, but the reality was actually so cruel. On the other hand, the precious Bright Village Regiment, although the strength of the members were ordinary, but they trained diligently, and their attitude was rather proper. In this battle, the underworld continent's demonic mounts that he led were in the limelight. But very quickly he calmed down from the joy of victory. Sun Jie's death and the destruction of the 8th Army would cause a huge uproar in the vast star continent, and he was very clear. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. How do you want me to prove that I do not have money? Tang Tian looked at Shersen with a face of disbelief. Are you sure that they are truly valuable? His suggestion was rejected by master without hesitation. Bundles of Empyrean ice tree branches that were half the height of a human piled up into a small hill. Tang Tian's heart was filled with understanding. Every time a tycoon's dreams were shattered, it would be like that. But in his eyes the training plan was truly amateurish. Although Wang Zhuanxian was diligent, but his standard was truly lacking. Alright, he was diligent enough and was in charge of training. If he had to personally do the simple and boring daily training, Bing felt that he would definitely go crazy. Furthermore, the trust that the Lord had in them was the most precious thing. The Empyrean ice tree spears in Shersen's eyes were simply divine weapons. Such a divine weapon for one to appear was already very rare for a bundle to appear. For a few bundles. The scene in front of him was extremely unreal, to the point that Shersen felt that his own dreams would definitely not appear in front of him. He thought about it, the problem of money was truly something that needed to be solved. He walked in front of Shersen and said, "Why not you bring a few things to sell and see what sells well, for example the Black Wind Blade, we have a lot of these things. You guys are experienced, your numbers are small, your targets are small, you guys are nimble, you guys can be the front line. Running around for business, originally you guys should not be doing it, but now that you have the manpower I can only let you guys down. But you have to be fast, the vast star continent will react very quickly." I knew it, how could this thing be valuable? From the start Tang Tian did not believe that this thing would be valuable. The Sea of Light, the Empyrean ice tree branches were densely packed. It was so lush that it made people's hair stand on end. It would be weird if it was valuable. Everyone in the Red Grass planet understood this point. Some of them chose to escape, while others decided to stay and were placed in the Black Castle. Luckily, the Black Castle was built to be big and was just enough to accommodate all of them. That was the only good thing about it. Shersen felt that he had made a mistake. This thing was not an Empyrean ice tree spear, it just looked like it, that was the only logical thing. Do you want to fight? That's enough. This is life, Uncle. Tang Tian sighed and left contentedly. The strength of the vast star continent was something that the Shang continent was unable to contend against. Zhou Xian nodded his head and said resolutely, "Once the samples are prepared, we will immediately set off." He silently cursed in his heart, what kind of moral conduct is this? Bing, who came out and saw the scene, was also filled with sympathy for Zhou. Senator Bing was also helpless. He realized that when he spoke to them nicely, they would have a face of fear and unease, and instead scolded them, which made them look like they were enjoying it. Different from the rest who were filled with worry, Bing, the old fox of the army, was extremely excited. From today onwards, all other training content will be cancelled and only train on one, synchronization. I only want synchronization and 50% is the lowest standard. From today onwards, train to your death. Bang bang bang. If the Empyrean Ice Tree Spear was truly valuable, then the problem of money would be solved and they could directly sell the tree branches. In Tang Tian's heart, the bundles of tree branches were no different from firewood. He had initially advised the master to leave the Shang continent, and to temporarily avoid the danger was the wisest choice. The vast star continent was strong, but even in the southern region, there were a few continents that were not weaker than them. Zhou Xian took a deep breath and said sincerely, "Master, if you have anything against me, please say it. Please do not use such words to fool this subordinate. It is truly too hurtful." Chapter 592. In the end, the person who traveled with Zhou Xian was Tang Tian, but the problem was in choosing the samples. When choosing the samples, Bing was dumbstruck. The things on Tang Tian's body were piled up like a mountain, and there were many different types, all of them were strange. "What should I choose?" he asked Zhou Xian, but Zhou Xian had a look of helplessness. Zhou Xian had never seen these things before, much less appraised their value. With the Black Castle as the center, 12 tall towers extended outwards, and using the Treasure City's technology, they shared and sorted out the energy, forming a gigantic stronghold. Crazy Tang was so angry that he cried out. He was extremely dissatisfied with his training plan being interrupted. "But Bings, you're the boss. If you don't think of something, who will?" made Tang Tian swallow his words. Without hesitation, he started to push forward the Sword Forest Stronghold plan, as he had sufficient manpower. But at the same time, Shen Rong and Xiaoan, the two old men of the 36 armies, finally calculated the budget for the upcoming war. Even if the manpower and fighting strength were free, but the expenditure on food, medicine, training necessities, etc., was still as high as 120 million cloud coins. The light belt had a diameter of about 500 m, formed by extremely fine flowing light, like a flowing river of light. The other end extended deep into the sky. The rest understood, and the entire group spread out, like a huge bird spreading its wings. The scouts on the two wings would occasionally rush forward and scan the surroundings. "What else is there?" Tang Tian blurted out. "Danger." Zhou Xian explained, "There are some chaotic energy flows that are as large as stars. If you do not fly close, you will be swallowed by them. Those are still fine as they are easier to discover, but the most terrifying ones are some special chaotic energy flows. These chaotic energy flows are extremely dangerous, but they are concealed and mixed in with other chaotic flows. It is not easy to detect. If you were to bump into them, you can only blame it on your bad luck." When the entire void was filled with such chaotic flows, the scene was magnificent, causing Tang Tian to be completely stunned. After a long while, he regained his senses and praised, "So magnificent." Recovering his body after a battle was a huge expenditure. "Yes." Zhou Xian nodded his head. "That is why it is best to ride on a boat. The defense of a boat is better and safer. Even a merchant ship is much safer. Nowadays there are very few people who can fly across the sea. There is a certain degree of danger." Tang Tian was having a lot of fun. Having just comprehended resilience, he was extremely fascinated by this technique. He tried out different forces and variations. The boring journey had become his training. Persevering in training, there would always be results. Tang Tian's dry pull, the explosive sound was much smaller than before. Bing judged that the vast star continent's movements would not be so fast. The vast star continent's situation was delicate, and with Sun Jie's destruction, it made others not dare to underestimate their strength, and would be suspicious of their background. After entering the light belt, Zhou Xian immediately reminded, "Sir, fly upwards." What was this phenomenon? The corrosive energy seemed to be pushed 3 feet away from Tang Tian's body by an invisible force, unable to advance any further. A blank space formed around Tang Tian. "Let's go, this road is not short," Zhou Xian reminded and took the lead. "Is this the estuary?" Tang Tian was completely captivated by the light belt in front of him, and was filled with curiosity. At the moment the energy around them had become extremely dense, and the light aura of the light belt had become somewhat dazzling. Zhou Xian and the rest all activated their energy barriers, and when their gazes landed on Tang Tian, they were immediately stunned by the scene around Tang Tian. "Rise? Estuary? What is that?" Tang Tian was startled. But not long after, Tang Tian regained his vigor. "Star door." Zhou Xian tried it out and roughly understood what it meant. He shook his head. "The southern region does not have star doors. This subordinate has never heard of one. Where can there be one? Could it be a new technique developed by the savage continent?" They were of different colors and were very colorful. Zhou Xian was relatively calm. He was too lazy to think about it because he realized that no matter how he thought, he could not understand. In the past he had to make the decisions for the entire group and felt that it was extremely tiring, but now he only needed to listen to orders and did not need to think about it. Compared to Tang Tian's vast and powerful aura, Zhou Xian's underworld continent's demonic mounts were extremely quiet, like a group of black bats quietly flying across the sky. The underworld continent's demonic mounts' outstanding individual strength and tactical discipline were displayed without a doubt. No one was talking to them, and they maintained an oppressive silence. "We need to buy a ship in the future," Tang Tian said resolutely. He suddenly thought of a question and asked curiously, "If we return, how do we find Red Grass Planet?" Before Tang Tian could reply, a light belt entered his vision, causing Tang Tian to be startled. "Sea of energy? Don't tell me you are not a star door?" Tang Tian was surprised. At that time, Red Grass Planet would become an unbreakable stronghold planet. 25 kilometers in the air, Tang Tian had never tried to fly so high before. In the past he could only fly above the clouds. Hearing that, Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Isn't that impossible to guard against? Zhou Xian and the rest who were experienced and knowledgeable, upon seeing that, they could not help but be stunned. This period of buffer time was extremely important to the Shang continent, as he had more important things to do. "I have never heard of it before. Let's go, let's go." Tang Tian could not wait any longer. What made him happy was that there was air in the void. Bing wanted to find Crane to give him advice, but seeing that Crane was training fervently, he did not have the heart to disturb him. Ling Su and Jing Hao were also training fervently. Everyone had been stimulated by the previous failure. After flying for a long time, Zhou Xian suddenly said, "Master, we need to ascend in front to the estuary." Continuously climbing to a height of 25 kilometers, even for Tang Tian, who was a monster with physical strength, he felt that it was unbearable. Zhou Xian and the rest were not any better. All of their faces revealed signs of fatigue. The energy required to ascend vertically was many times that of flying normally. He did not care about Master Meng Nan's background. As long as there was air, his dry pull would be useful. The lack of money had become the most important problem. Tang Tian finally understood what Zhou Xian meant by the sea of energy. "Pa pa pa!" Tang Tian stepped on the air shield, shouting as he rushed forward, leaving behind a series of explosions in the air. "All right, who asked me to be the boss?" Tang Tian hung his head dejectedly and followed Zhou Senator. Hearing that, a look of excitement flashed past Zhou Xian's eyes. He had always desired to own a warship, but no matter how small a warship was, it was not something he could afford. Every time they flew out of the sea of energy, their bodies would be corroded by it. If the corrosion was not handled well, it would easily become a hidden injury that was hard to recover from. Warship. Tang Tian was once again attracted by another new term. The sea map and the energy pole needle. Zhou Xian continued, "Later on, when we fly out, Master will realize that the estuary is very obvious. The Red Grass Planet's estuary is not considered big, but as long as we enter a range of 25 kilometers, it will be easy to find." Bing quickly thought of a way to settle things once and for all. He might as well send Tang Tian along with Zhou Xian, and threw a sentence to Crazy Tang and then left irresponsibly. Zhou Xian explained, "Once we leave the estuary, we will reach the Sea of Energy. The Sea of Energy is a boundless energy and contains many impurities, which has a strong corrosive effect, and without strength, you will not be able to go out to sea. If the distance is too far, then you will have to take a boat, and these boats will have strong martial artists that will take turns to block the corrosion. Warships are specially used to fight across the sea and are very powerful. Some warships can hold an entire army and can greatly increase the strength of an army. Hearing that, Zhou Xian knew that Master Meng Nan had never been to the Sea of Energy before and reminded him, it is not only spectacular. The group of them headed deeper into the Sea of Energy. So powerful. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. We will have money to buy warships. Zhou Xian was surprised. Master did not even know about the estuary? Could the savage continent be different from the southern region? He explained, we need to ascend to a height of 25 kilometers, pass through the estuary and enter the Sea of Energy. Bing tried to deduce it a few times and realized that to break through such a stronghold, the price needed to be paid was extremely high. According to Sai Lei's calculations, if the stronghold was completed, they would be able to control a quarter of the energy in the entire red grass planet, and that was enough for them to hold the advantage. Sai Lei named the stronghold as Sword Forest Stronghold, and calculated that if the number of pagoda strongholds reached 36, due to the overlapping effects, they would be able to control the energy in the entire red grass planet. Whoosh! Tang Tian felt as though he had broken through an invisible barrier. Suddenly the dazzling light aura dimmed, and his vision became clear again. The space in front of him was filled with an endless chaotic flow of energy. It was extremely dense. All of these chaotic energy flows did not have any pattern. Some formed whirlpools, some swam like a school of fish, some dragged long light tails like shooting stars, some formed light spots, floating indefinitely. Good. Tang Tian was eager to give it a try. Stepping on the air shield, he pulled out bit by bit. His speed was extremely fast, and in a moment he left everyone behind. The advantage of pulling out horizontally was far less than the advantage of pulling out vertically. Lung and the rest were even more respectful. The current day's martial techniques were all monopolized by the big families. They had never seen Master Meng Nan's technique before, but it was definitely not ordinary. Zhou Xian looked at it, then retracted his gaze. He looked at his members and bellowed, maintain the formation, be careful. Through Xian, the other two planets of the Shang continent had already started to evacuate their citizens, and those who were not willing to leave the Shang continent brought their families to the Black Stronghold. Although it was only a part of the Shang continent, but the population of the Black Stronghold quickly reached 60,000. The Black Stronghold was unable to accommodate such a large population, and with Sai Lei's help, the concept of a stronghold was brought up. Bing could only find a local merchant through Xian. But the merchant shook his head. He had never seen it before, so how would he dare to give a price? The higher they flew, the thicker the light belt became. It was as though they were flying up a large pipe. As a famous general, when Bing saw Sai Lei's plan, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Yes. Zhou Xian then knew that the master had never seen the estuary before. He looked at the light belt and sighed. Luckily the estuary is too small, and the warships are unable to enter. If not, we would truly be in trouble. Seems like Master rarely goes out. Chapter 593. Outside the tent, the energy turbulence crashed into the tent, but the tent did not move at all. Without the corrosion of the chaotic energy flow, everyone could finally relax. Everyone began to repair their own bodies. Tang Tian didn't need to repair himself, but he was exhausted. In 3 more days I will reach the White Sands continent. At that time I will definitely take a good look around. Qin Yu Ran stretched her waist. Her voluptuous body was like a blossoming flower. Adding on her lazy expression, she was extremely flirtatious. This was called the spherical chain tent. With the silver ball as the fulcrum, the tent was formed by an energy curtain. Zhou Xian noticed the worry on Tang Tian's face and couldn't help but ask, "Sir, do you have any worries?" They would rest here for 10 hours before setting off again. Without the ball chain tent, there was no rest in the Sea of Energy, only death awaited them. Tang Tian was drooling. Previously he had no idea what a warship was. Now that he had seen it with his own eyes, he knew how powerful a warship was. A battleship was traveling quickly in the Sea of Energy. The few of them injected their energy into the metal spheres at the same time, and the metal spheres lit up with silver light at the same time. Silver light beams shot out from the silver spheres at the same time. The light beams connected with each other, and the connected light beams formed a frame. Then a light screen lit up on the surface of the frame. Curtains of light rose one after another, forming a complete enclosed space. Everyone sat on the ground and consciously maintained a defensive formation. Tang Tian was protected in the middle. The underworld continent's demonic mounts seized the time to recover their strength, and the surroundings became quiet. Seeing that Zhou Xian and the others had a good attitude, the manager's expression became much better. If you need anything, you can come to me directly. I'm in room 13 in front. A steward brought them to a cabin, and after settling them down he said, "There's only the cargo hold left, so you'll have to bear with it for now. Please do not wander about. 3 days later we will reach the White Sands continent." The rarity of gold saints in Heaven's Road, and whether or not there were any left, no one knew. However, such battleships were not rare in the sanctuary. Suddenly someone barged in and reported, "Miss, there's a spherical chain tent ahead. The other party wishes to board the boat." The enclosed ball chain tent was a quiet haven. The howling of the chaotic energy flow outside disappeared. No one spoke. Rest time was precious. The longer the ball chain tent lasted, the more it consumed. If the energy in the silver ball was used up, the tent would disappear. Then a voice was heard. "Master, please board the ship." "Thank you, noble lord." Zhou Xian expressed his gratitude. They quickly put away the spherical chain tent and floated towards the warship. "I'm not afraid of bandits." Qin Yuran waved her snow-white fists, her face filled with excitement. "It would be best if they are bandits, that way Xiaobai can beat them until they piss in their pants." "I can't say for sure. This depends on luck. Some people are worried about safety while others find it troublesome. However, this is a battleship, so the guards are probably very strong. The other party definitely isn't afraid of us being bandits." Zhou Xian shook his head. He turned to the others and said, "Everyone, put away all your unsightly things. Tell me everything you know." Tang Tian didn't care too much. For example, the main forces. It doesn't matter if it's not too detailed. "All right." Zhou Xian quickly agreed. "Please represent us to express our gratitude to the noble lord again." Apart from that, he also borrowed the power of the laws. "No way." Auntie Chiu stared at Qin Yuran. "This performance is the most important performance of the year. In the various continents of the southern region, more than half of the aristocratic families will be here. If there are any slip-ups in the performance, it will be a huge blow to young Miss reputation. The selection is about to begin, and at this time, your reputation is the most important. You cannot be careless." It was the first time Tang Tian had seen such a thick energy barrier. It was at least 10 m thick, causing Tang Tian to be speechless. A person in front of such a battleship was insignificant. Is this the legendary Gold Saint? Inside the ball chain tent, Tang Tian had a look of curiosity. "Will they agree to let us board the ship?" "Young miss, we still need to rehearse." The middle-aged lady by the side immediately reminded him. She was surnamed Chiu and everyone called her Auntie Chiu. She was also Qin Yuran's manager. The rest signaled for them to get ready. It was a gigantic object that was over 200 m tall, and a mobile stronghold, causing Tang Tian's heart to palpitate. The Sacred Saint Galaxy truly has its own unique points. To actually be able to create such a terrifying big fellow, an energy barrier that was more than 10 m thick, it left a deep impression on Tang Tian. He could not imagine what kind of attack was able to pierce through such a thick energy barrier. Inside the ball chain tent, everyone felt the pressure on them lessen and sat down. "Merchants?" Bai Xiao did not deny it and spoke to Qin Yuran and Auntie Chiu. "They don't look like bandits." Auntie Chiu muttered, "Since they don't look like bandits, then let them board. It will be convenient and form good karma." Qin Yuran and Auntie Chiu turned to look at Bai Xiao, who nodded his head. "Send the images over." "How much does such a battleship cost?" Tang Tian suddenly asked. Zhou Xian and the rest were already used to it and no one complained about being tired. Zhou Xian was surprised. He did not expect Tang Tian to throw out such a huge question and replied cautiously, "This subordinate does not know much." His tone was calm but filled with confidence. "Honorable Marshal Continent." Those 3 words immediately caused the hair on Tang Tian's body to stand. He exclaimed out loud, his eyes suddenly flashing with a cold glint. Auntie Chiu scolded, "How can a girl speak such vulgarities?" His gaze sized up the gigantic battleship. The battleship was over 200 m long, and was made up of 10 m long red wooden planks that were pieced together. Zhou Xian said that it was a type of wood called red blood wood, which was extremely valuable and had outstanding defense. There were pavilions and buildings on the battleship, with figures moving about. The entire battleship was enveloped by a layer of thick energy barrier. Zhou Xian looked around. There were no dangerous energy flows around, and it was a good place to set up camp. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and then spread out, with each of them holding a silver metal ball. Qin Yuran retracted her head and stuck out her tongue. In many matters Tang Tian was muddle-headed, but when it came to battles, Tang Tian's beast-like sharp intuition would reveal itself. He was extremely sensitive to energy and could clearly sense that the energy in the entire battleship was one, and he did not dare imagine that when the battleship roared, it would erupt with a terrifying might. Tang Tian thought for a long time and felt that there were only two methods. Not everyone could rest. The 5 underworld continents' demonic mounts sat at 5 different corners. The silver balls behind them were connected to an extremely fine light thread, and at the other end of the light thread, there were a few flat light bladders, swaying along with the chaotic energy flow. These light bladders were extremely sensitive, and were used to detect the dangerous and hidden chaotic energy flows in the sea of energy. The first method was to use an even more powerful and concentrated energy to attack. Tang Tian guessed that the battleship definitely had a similar method of attack. The energy barrier of the battleship suddenly revealed a 3 m wide circular passage, and Zhou Xian led the way in. Upon boarding the battleship, Tang Tian could truly feel the majesty of the battleship. His face was filled with shock. Heaven's Road had never seen such a huge battle mechanism before. Qin Yuran pouted, her eyes drooped, like a frosted eggplant. Advancing in the sea of energy was extremely difficult. His body rejected the energy, that meant that the sea of energy was also rejecting his body, and the resistance he faced was much greater than the rest. Every step was extremely difficult and his physical strength was being consumed quickly. "Thank you," Qin Yuran said pitifully, "just one rehearsal should be enough." Zhou Xian laughed bitterly. "I don't know. It is this subordinate's first time riding on such a high-grade battleship. It will definitely be a sky-high price." This was a stronghold that could move. Tang Tian laughed bitterly. The feeling of stepping on solid ground was extremely wonderful. Everyone sat down. The cabin that was arranged for them was the cargo hold. There were no beds or tables, but everyone was satisfied. The energy inside the battleship was abundant, and they did not need to constantly defend against the chaotic energy flow. The power of laws was a higher level of power, and in theory no matter how much energy was used to form an energy barrier, it would be unable to block the power of laws. But Tang Tian was very clear that in order to break open such a thick energy barrier, one's comprehension of the laws would probably have to reach an extremely shocking level. "They say they are merchants and are heading towards the White Sands continent," his subordinate immediately said. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Tang Tian sat down and gasped for breath. His improvement was obvious. After continuously moving forward, his physical strength had been tempered. "Activate." "Yes." Bai Xiao laughed. "Aunt Qiu, relax, I will keep an eye on them." "So it's like that." Zhou Xian somewhat understood, thinking about the master's lack of common sense. It seemed like the master had never left the house before. He thought for a moment and said, "Then this subordinate will casually say it. The Sacred Saint Galaxy is divided into north, south, east and west, and we are currently in the southern region, which is the most flourishing and has the strongest commerce. The southern region has many strong people and no one is especially strong, but the southern region's business atmosphere is good, and there are fewer battles between them. Master's hometown, the Savage Continent, is in the northern region, and is the biggest powerhouse in the northern region. The Savage Continent is just a general name. There are many continents below it and they seem to be fighting amongst themselves, which Master might know better. The strongest in the eastern region is the Gold Continent. They specialize in mechanisms, and the entire eastern region is influenced by them, where mechanisms are prevalent. And the strongest in the western region is the Honorable Martial Continent. Stronghold. A light screen lit up on the wall and a spherical chain tent appeared on the light screen. Bai Xiao looked at it carefully and was surprised. That is a very standard military practice. Where did they come from?" Bai Xiao laughed out loud. A look of admiration flashed past Bai Xiao's eyes and he laughed. "The White Sands continent is the southern region's business center. To walk around it once, young miss will need some time. The most famous business street there is called the White Sands Lower Street. It is a first-class flourishing place, and is one of the 16 golden streets of the Sacred Saint Galaxy. That's it. The situation in the Sacred Saint Galaxy? Get ready. Aling shouted. Qin Yu Ran was excited. Wah, I want to go. It is a little troublesome. Tang Tian scratched his head, feeling helpless. He suddenly said, Old Shi, tell me about the situation in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Everyone took off their armor and kept their black wind blades. Chapter 594. Pirates. Shirsen noticed Tang Tian's glance and said calmly, The pirates in the Sea of Energy have always been active. The chaotic energy flow gives them the best cover. I'm afraid the size of this pirate fleet isn't small. They have at least 10 warships and 1 warship. Tang Tian nodded and didn't say anything else. Tell everyone to keep their spirits up. Lian Bojun said solemnly, his eyes flickering with a cold glint. Young Master Bai Shao is not someone that can be easily dealt with. The underworld continent's demonic mounts familiarly found their own battle positions, although they had never boarded such a high-grade warship before, but they were proficient in ordinary warships. The entire battlefield was shrouded in a tidal wave of whooshing sounds. All other sounds were completely suppressed. The cannonball of energy couldn't even cross half the field. Sir, please take a seat. Shirsen guided Tang Tian. The handle on the chair is a mechanism. My lord does not need to input energy, you only need to control the direction. My lord, you must be careful not to activate too much energy, otherwise it will overload your body. Boom boom boom. Xiu xiu xiu. A large swarm of sword auras, a swarm of hornets, pounced towards the ball of light. Seeing that Tang Tian was deep in thought, Shirsen did not disturb him. He closed his eyes to recover his strength. On the Black Dragon warship, the deputy suddenly held his head with both hands and exclaimed in disbelief, My God! That. Lian Bojun did not even turn his head and said, Don't think about it, I am prepared to exchange her for money. Sure enough, there was a knot. Shirsen confirmed his conjecture and did not make a fuss. Who didn't have a few enemies these days? But the enemy is the honorable Martial continent, that is truly something. After sighing for a while, Shirsen was a little expectant. Could it be that Sir was going to the western region in the future? Shirsen and all of the underworld continent's demonic mounts were dumbstruck. It was the first time they had seen someone use the honeycomb sword cannon to the point of self-destruction. Their bombardment was actually suppressed. Shirsen's reaction was the fastest. Without saying a word, he pulled one of his brothers down from his seat and pushed Tang Tian forward. Sir, try this. That doesn't sound very good, Tang Tian muttered. Even the light of the chaotic energy flow couldn't cover the light of the simultaneous bombardment from more than 10 warships. The shockingly powerful energy cannons drew beautiful arcs of light. Like raindrops, they bombarded the warship. When he was designing the honeycomb sword cannon, he had never thought that there would be a day where it would be able to withstand such a surging amount of energy. Tang Tian's body trembled. The surging energy instantly filled up the honeycomb sword cannon, and the overjoyed Tang Tian fired again without hesitation. Inside the Bloodwood warship, Bai Shao stood up. His handsome and refined face had a warm smile. He turned and looked at the panicking Qin Yu Ran. Don't be afraid, I'm here. The honeycomb sword cannon that had exceeded its limits was blown to pieces. Lian Bojun was roused. Bai Shao had made his move. Suddenly, the ship trembled violently and a sharp and ear-piercing alarm rang out. Among the dozen battleships, a black battleship was the most eye-catching. It was more than a kilometer long, making it look like a black beast king. Clusters of dazzling energy rose from it like raindrops and pounced toward the lone red battleship on the other side. The surging energy from the warship continuously poured into the sword on Tang Tian's back, causing the sword blade to light up with a dazzling light aura, releasing a buzzing sound. Tang Tian anxiously jumped onto the seat and held onto the handle. The timing was even more coincidental. Tang Tian did not have the time to sigh. He suddenly realized that a dazzling light regiment was flying towards him at an astonishing speed. The intense explosion caused the hull of the warship to tilt and sway continuously, causing the goods in the cargo hold to fall from the containers and scatter all over the floor, causing the dim lights in the cargo hold to flicker. This subordinate only knows that much. Shirsen said. He looked at his master who had a gloomy expression and muttered in his heart, Seems like the hatred is not small. Thus he added, Master, if you are interested in the Honorable Martial Continent, we can go to the White Sands Continent, and Master can purchase some information about the Honorable Martial Continent, which will be more detailed. Everyone is interested in the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent, and many people are doing research on it. Zhou Xian did not expect that. He had finally boarded a warship and thought that his journey would be smooth, but he did not expect to meet with pirates. He looked calm on the surface, but his heart was filled with worry. In such a large-scale battle, a single person's strength would not be of much use. This excited and eager fellow. Doesn't Master know that the situation is dangerous? In the captain's room of the warship, Lian Bojun observed the battlefield. The opponent's warship was swaying under the rain of fire, and the prey was unable to escape from his grasp. The Honorable Martial Continent was actually the overlord of the Sacred Saint Galaxy, and that was not good news for them. The overlord of the Sacred Saint Galaxy definitely had many armies and warships. Hearing that, Tang Tian knew that the Honorable Martial Continent was the target he was looking for. Lian Bojun's tone did not have any fluctuations. Bai Xiao has not fought yet. Zhou Xian perspired in cold sweat. Master is actually so warlike. The godlike young lad is not that kind of person. The inside of the warship was in chaos. Bang! Pay pay pay! He turned his head and followed his assistant's gaze and was startled. Although it was not as direct as usual, but the scene in front of him still caused Tang Tian's blood to boil. Tang Tian, who had succeeded in his attack, was completely excited. He had completely entered a berserk state. He roared and roared while frantically activating the honeycomb sword cannon. The scalp-numbing sound of the cannon continued like a torrential rain. Tang Tian realized that the protective barrier in front of him had become transparent, allowing him to see the battlefield outside even more clearly. The dazzling light bullets exploded into flames. It was a spectacular sight. Truly is not good. Zhou Xian was experienced. Unless the warship has an entire army from the frequency of the cannons, the warship's defense is not strong enough. He looked at the master and stopped in his tracks. Pervert. It was Zhou Xian's first time boarding the Bloodwood warship, and he did not know the positions of the weapons on board. Luckily for them, they were lucky enough to meet the manager who had brought them on board, and upon hearing that they were willing to help, the manager immediately brought them to a battle zone. Tang Tian spat out the metal fragments in his mouth and rushed out from the smoke and scolded, "Who made the cannon? So useless." "But how can I help?" Tang Tian was somewhat anxious. He planned to bring the master and escape the moment the situation turned bad. To escape in such a situation, there was nothing to be ashamed of. The sword auras pulled out a continuous light scar in the air. Zhou Xian, who was beside Tang Tian, was completely dumbstruck. He had never seen anyone who could activate the honeycomb sword cannon like that. The energy load could not be seen on the master's body. The light auras from the explosions would occasionally break the darkness. Lian Bojun stared blankly at the frantically spewing sword auras. He was stunned. How many honeycomb sword cannons did they install? Tang Tian curiously sized up the weapons in front of him. Around a seat, there were many densely packed swords floating. The number of swords was astonishing. There were at least 100 of them, and they were like a school of fish, gathering and scattering, floating slowly. To him, the energy load did not affect him at all. The surging energy was like a tide that flowed endlessly into the honeycomb sword cannon. The sword auras that flew out from his back did not stop at all. They were endless. One after another, dazzling sword auras flew out from his back at an astonishing speed. When the sword auras flew out of the light screen, the sword auras were over 1.5 m long. Suddenly, the honeycomb sword cannon in front of him exploded into pieces, the smoke enveloping Tang Tian's figure. Zhou Xian was shocked. "Master." Lian Bojun was familiar with the spewing light aura. It was the attack of the honeycomb sword cannon. He was extremely familiar with the weapon. It was easy to control. The frequency of the attack was high, and the speed of the sword auras was astonishing. It was an outstanding weapon, but it had a flaw. It placed a huge burden on the gunner, and after every round of attack, the gunner had to rest for more than 10 seconds. Xiao. Bai Xiao walked out. Bai Xiao alone is unable to turn the situation around. The adjutant was unsure. "We've struck it big this time." His adjutant was extremely excited. A Bloodwood warship and Qin Yu ran. "I heard that Qin Yu Ran's beauty is unparalleled, boss." Tang Tian was truly excited. He had never experienced a warship battle before. The dazzling light auras, the deafening explosions, made all the battles that Tang Tian had participated in seem weak. Sensing his fighting intent, the honeycomb sword cannon behind him became even more dazzling. Xiu Xian said, "I'll leave this honeycomb sword cannon to master." A few of the warships that were nearer were struck by the light auras, with splinters flying everywhere, and they retreated in panic. The cargo hold was quiet. Under the dim lights, the underworld continent's demonic mounts were like statues. Tang Tian laid on the ground without a care for his image, relaxing his body, but his mind could not stop. The light swords continued to strike the energy regiment, causing the surface of the energy regiment to form ripples. And after enduring over 10 of the swords, it exploded into a regiment of flames. As for artificially nurturing spirits, the sacred Saint Galaxy did not have any martial spirits. The high-energy environment caused the corrosive effect of the energy, and there was no space for spirits to survive. If there was the Temple and the Honorable Martial Alliance, then Tang Tian would not be surprised. The armies of the Ursa Major constellation and the armies of the Sacred Saint Galaxy were on completely different levels. Although to Tang Tian among the same level saints, the Sacred Saint Galaxy was not as strong as Heaven's Road. But a saint was still a saint and was not something ordinary martial techniques could compare to. He coughed lightly and arranged his thoughts. The Honorable Martial Continent is the strongest continent in the Western region, and they are the new overlords that have risen in the past few hundred years. Especially their martial techniques, they are currently unique, they are extremely meticulous and have the form of light attribute martial techniques. But what truly allowed them to rise is their research on spirits, and in this aspect they are ahead of everyone else. They have found a way to artificially nurture spirits, and have integrated it into their martial techniques. Although they have not risen for long, but everyone thinks highly of them, and in the past few years, they have already shown signs of unifying the Western region. The long swords floating around him lit up all at once and pointed straight ahead. The battlefield was not big, but it could completely accommodate Tang Tian and the rest. Without Xiu Xian's orders, the underworld continent's demonic mounts all stood up, their faces revealing cautious looks. "How is the Honorable Martial Continent?" Tang Tian asked. The meticulous martial techniques, artificially nurturing spirits, and the time of their rise, all of them matched. As the Sacred Saint Galaxy was filled with energy, they did not need to focus too much on the utilization of energy, and thus allowed the Sacred Saint Galaxy's martial techniques to have a wide and open style. In one of the Bloodwood warships, there were sword auras shooting out crazily. The astonishing number of sword auras whistled like a storm. There were too many of them, to the point that they formed a large screen of swords, frantically sweeping across the battlefield. The energy regiments that were over 3 m in diameter smashed onto the thick energy barrier of the warship, causing dazzling light auras to blossom out from the energy barrier. The piercing white light spots seemed to have enveloped the entire warship. An intense sense of danger enveloped his entire body. Tang Tian was like an exploding rabbit, all of his hairs standing on end. Without thinking, his eyes locked onto the light regiments. "That is truly a pity." The adjutant smacked his lips, his face was filled with regret, but he quickly threw the problem to the back of his mind and became even more excited. "If it's ransom, we can at least exchange for 2 more Bloodwood warships. Wah wah wah, 1 Black Dragon warship, 3 Bloodwood warships, 10 warships, we will rule the pirate world." Tang Tian's reaction surprised Xiu Xian. Could it be that Master Meng Nan has a grudge with the Honorable Martial Continent? "Let's go help them," Tang Tian said decisively. They had boarded someone else's ship and received someone else's favor. How could they run away upon encountering danger? What a huge scene. Buzz. His voice seemed to have a calming demonic power, causing the fear in Qin Yu Ran's heart to decrease greatly. That was the word that popped up in everyone's mind. Chapter 595. But a pity, the pirates you have met are not ordinary pirates. Take note to dodge. The light slash brought about an intense rotation, transforming into a ray of white light, flying towards the enemy's fleet. Above their heads, Tang Tian did not even take note of his aim, it was far off. But makes people look forward to it. After attacking for a long time, only 1 frigate was destroyed, and just as he was about to continue attacking, the spiraling slash machine actually exploded again. He suddenly opened his eyes wide in anger and bellowed, Kill. Tang Tian flew into a rage. But no one laughed. For some reason, they had a premonition that their master's following actions would definitely not be normal. Wood splinters flew everywhere. The ship's body that was tougher than steel in front of the sharp spiraling slash did not have any resistance. The ship's body quickly left behind many crisscrossing slash marks. Taking the opportunity when the honeycomb sword cannon stopped firing, the pirate fleet quickly pulled apart. 2 regiments of flames blossomed behind it. Most of the pirates had poor equipment and usually relied on numbers to fight. Such intense close-range firepower, if used on the pirates, would definitely be a destructive attack. Dong dong dong. Spiraling slash machine. Zhou Xian knew the situation was urgent and spoke quickly. This is the control mechanism. It is the same as the honeycomb sword cannon just now. Master, take note, its load is 3 times that of the honeycomb sword cannon. Lian Bo-jun had already started to think about the practicality of such a tactic. The spiraling slash that was like raindrops brought forth a sharp whistle, piercing into the energy barrier, bringing forth a burst of shattered auras, leaving behind fine traces on the energy barrier. His voice stopped abruptly. He suddenly opened his eyes wide as though he could not believe his own eyes. All the captains of the frigates screamed out in fear at the same time. The distance of 5 kilometers, to the spiraling slash that far surpassed the energy bullets, was covered in a blink of an eye. Other than that, although it had a strong penetrative power, it was unable to explode. The 3 m diameter spiraling slash, to a warship that was over 200 m long, was pitifully small. Unless it slashed at a crucial part like the keel, the killing power would be pitiful. Such a majestic and impactful scene stunned Bai Xiao. Of course, it had its own weakness, and its energy load was even more astonishing. The so-called energy load, other than the impact on the body, was even more terrifying, the resonance effect on the energy in the body. The excessive resonance effect could possibly cause the martial artist to lose control of the energy in his body, resulting in his death. It was a pity that the plan was going to fail. There were too many spiraling blades and their trajectories were unpredictable. And the other bad thing was that it was hard to aim, especially in the sea of energy. The chaotic energy flow in the sea of energy was extremely disruptive to its flight. Although its range was as high as 10 kilometers, it would often have a clear displacement after 3 kilometers. The assistant had made a mistake in his calculations. There were at least 40 spiraling blades and a team of over 120 people. Only by taking turns could they form such a firepower. The opponent's honeycomb sword cannon had suddenly stopped firing, causing the entire battlefield to sink into a strange silence. The storm of honeycomb sword cannons had shocked everyone. Such intense firepower, there were at least 10 groups of honeycomb sword cannons firing in turns. Zhou Xian and the rest stared blankly at Tang Tian, collectively speechless. Although the honeycomb sword cannon's firepower was powerful, it had a fatal weakness, and that was its range. The sword aura released by the honeycomb sword cannon could only reach 3000 m, that was why it was classified as a close combat weapon. Even the warship's energy barrier was unable to block it, and a person's energy barrier was no stronger than paper in front of it. The first spiraling blade that flew out attracted the attention of Lian Bo-jun, who was on the Black Dragon warship, but the accuracy was too lacking. The spiraling blade was a powerful weapon, its high speed of rotation was extremely sharp, and even the energy barrier of the warship had difficulty blocking it. Tang Tian's angry roar came out from the dust cloud, his imposing aura surging out from the dust cloud. His face was covered in smoke, his naked upper body was covered in mist, perspiration flowed along his defined muscles that were like steel, making him look like a god of war. The explosion of the pirate warship caused him to wake up, and his expression became even weirder. Wait a minute, on this warship, there was only one spiraling blade. Everyone's scalp went numb, although to the hull of the warship the damage caused by the spiraling blade was limited. But whoever was unlucky enough to be struck by it, the scene of blood would definitely cause them to lose their courage. The few warships that were quietly approaching did not expect that they would encounter such an intense attack. They suffered heavy casualties, and had no choice but to retreat to the back to rest. Until it suddenly stopped firing, and for some reason, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Boom. It was the first time Lian Bo-jun knew that when the hissing sounds of snakes converged together, it would cause people's scalps to go numb. A distance of 5 kilometers was enough to cause the honeycomb sword cannon to lose its power, And at such a distance, regardless of whether it was his black dragon warship or the other warships, they all had many weapons that could be used. Screams and chaos immediately pervaded the battlefield, and the cannoneers who were initially attacking with all their might were now scared witless, rolling down from their seats and sprawling on the ground. The oppressive explosion like thunder with an astonishing frequency exploded in everyone's ears, causing their ears to buzz. Another explosion. Another explosion. Asshole. Asshole. Whoosh 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 whoosh, rays of light blades swept past. The speed was so fast that they could not catch it with their naked eyes. Tang Tian's body was trembling like a sieve, his eyes were wide open in anger. The muscles all over his body were constantly trembling, but his legs were still firmly nailed to his seat. Swoosh. Lian Bo-jun stared blankly at the quiet battlefield. Asshole. The adjutant also reacted, feeling ashamed. How could he not have thought of such a simple method? As expected of the master, he immediately passed down the order. Lian Bo-jun was very calm. Before the table collapsed, he picked up a cup of water and drank a mouthful, his body not moving an inch. There was no longer a need for the battle to continue. The morale of his side had been struck to the bottom by the ferocious light blades. Tang Tian felt his entire body moving, his body brimming with boundless energy. He licked his lips in front of everyone's eyes. He took off his shirt, holding onto the handle with both hands. Squatting down in a horse stance, he was like a nail nailed to the ground, his muscles bulging. First it was the honeycomb sword cannon, followed by the spiraling blades. Using the human wave tactic, the firepower was maximized. Seems like Qin Yuran has an expert by her side. When young noble Bai Shao opened the cabin door and was prepared to attack, he was shocked by the spiraling blades that covered the sky and covered the earth. The spiraling blades above his head were like a flock of black birds. The battlefield was lit up by the spiraling blades' light aura. Since when was the spiraling blades' weak light aura able to light up the battlefield? A muffled sound came out. The powerful impact caused Tang Tian's body to tremble, his eyes suddenly opening wide. The entire battlefield was stunned by the concentrated honeycomb sword cannons. Even the main cannoneers had subconsciously stopped and stared blankly at the crazily spewing tongues of fire. The victory came out of nowhere, and without hesitation Bai Shao turned and rushed towards the direction of the spiraling blades. From the corner of his eyes he saw a frigate that was split into two. The frigate's luck was extremely bad. Its keel was actually struck by 5 spiraling blades. The keel was broken. It could be said to have hit the jackpot. Under the impact of the chaotic energy flow, the hull of the ship was quickly dismembered. The pirates on the ship screamed and escaped, but before they could escape far, sparks exploded and engulfed them. The underworld continent's demonic mounts looked at their master in a daze. The scene in front of them, appearing in such an intense battlefield, was extremely comical. Lian Bo-jun's expression did not change at all. The sparks that lit up caused his face to flicker. CSISI. Duo. It's too high. Shi Sin was filled with regret. He could not help but remind, Master, pay attention to your aim. So such a weapon, usually, every warship would be equipped with 1 or 2, but no one had high hopes for it to be of much use. The spiraling blades also had another name, lottery machine. Whether or not it could hit the enemy and how much use it could be was like winning a lottery. It all depended on the will of the heavens. The pirate fleet was quickly retreating. The adjutant's face was devoid of blood. He laid on the ground and roared, "Lunatics! This bunch of lunatics! How many lottery machines did they actually install? 20 or 30. Dong dong dong. Under Shi Sin and the rest stupefied and numb gazes, bang, the unbearable spiraling blades completely exploded, the rising dust enveloping Tang Tian. Dazzling light auras once again surged out from the opponent's warship. Before he could finish speaking, the arc in front of Tang Tian's seat lit up with a light aura, scaring Shi Sin to the point that he scrambled backwards. No one liked to win the lottery, especially when there were so many of them. Although they knew that the probability of being hit was low, but without any protection, the feeling of being unable to dodge would only cause the fear in their hearts to spread even more. This was quite an interesting modification. Crack, a 3 m diameter circular light aura shot out from the arc at an astonishing speed. But when he turned to look at Tang Tian, his gaze turned sluggish. The master stood up from his seat excitedly. He moved his arms, squatted down, bent his waist, stretched his legs and muttered, "Powerful. Truly powerful." Bai Xiao felt that his common sense had been completely overturned. He urgently wanted to know what was happening. The spiraling blades coincidentally clashed with an energy bullet in the air. The energy bullet split into two like tofu, and the spiraling blades continued to shoot forward. Just a mere honeycomb sword cannon and you want to deal with me? You guys are too naive. Lian Bo-jun sneered in his heart, his expression calm and composed. Retreat, maintain a 5 kilometers distance. One after another, the high-speed spiraling blades rubbed against the chaotic energy flow, forming sparks, like a flock of white birds that moved as fast as lightning, scattering sparks, flying in a strange trajectory in the air, flocking towards them. Bang! Seems like the honeycomb sword cannon was the opponent's trump card. He shook his head and ordered, "All ships are free to attack. Be careful of young noble Bai Xiao." Lian Bo-jun regained his calm. He could not help but ponder over the modification. To him, such a dense concentration of honeycomb sword cannons was definitely a special modification of the opponent's warship. He had to admit the opponent's modification was extremely suitable. Although the opponent was a warship, but they would not participate in regular battles, and the enemies they dealt with were mostly pirates. What is this? Tang Tian was excited and curious at the same time. His seat was in a flat circular cabin, and in front of his seat was an arc that was more than 3 m wide. A white light flashed in front of Lian Bo-jun. He did not have time to react. The desk beside him was split into two and fell to the ground. The light aura from the arc instantly became extremely dazzling. Chapter 596. Tang Tian shook his head. Name your price. I don't know how much this thing can sell for. According to his calculations, the dense spiral blades just now were equivalent to the firepower of 40 sets of spiral blades. Looking at the team behind Tang Tian, there were exactly 40 people. They must have some secret method to distribute the energy load to everyone. This way they could distribute the energy load and achieve such a concentrated attack. Bai Xiao's discovery was something that Qin Yuran had also discovered. She felt that Big Brother Meng Nan was most likely someone who did not care about outside matters. She was used to seeing all kinds of people, and Brother Meng Nan's temperament was innocent and unpretentious, without the slightest bit of slyness, causing her to feel comfortable. Qin Yuran was startled for a moment, then praised. As expected of the name, only such a tyrannical name can match up to Big Brother Meng's unparalleled bravery. Suddenly, the image of the training ground, which was covered with bundles of icy blue tree branches as tall as half a person, appeared before his eyes. 2 million for 300, that would be 600 million cloud coins. Thank you, Gongzi and your subordinates, for lending a helping hand and saving Yuran from danger. If I were to fall into the hands of the pirates, my life would be worse than death. Please accept my bow. Qin Yuran bowed, expressing her gratitude, and smiled sweetly. Young noble is such a hero. I have yet to ask for your name. Bai Zhao's eyes opened wide and exclaimed, Empyrean Ice Tree Spear. Law fragment. It's actually a law fragment. Bai Xiao muttered to himself and suddenly said anxiously, Do you still have this origin mark box? I want them all. Just name your price. Anyway, just be careful. Tang Tian waved his hand. It didn't seem too difficult to earn money. Is there something wrong with the warship? Qin Yuran immediately asked. He smiled and said, Little brother's skills are not very good, but I'm just a miscellaneous character. I know half a bucket of water about everything, but I know a little of everything. 1 box. Tang Tian added, Oh, 1 box only has 300. When Bai Xiao heard this, he threw the origin mark box in his hand out. The bronze box shattered and a dark red light flashed in the air. What's with the dry mouth and tongue? Origin mark box. Tang Tian told Bai Xiao how to use it. Just throw it out. How much? Bai Xiao was stunned. The kind-hearted Qin Yuran spoke gently. I wonder what Big Brother Meng is selling? Bai Xiao also looked at Tang Tian. He knew that the warship was gifted to Qin Yuran by the Ming continent's continent lord, and was a genuine bloodwood warship. Why are my legs feeling a little weak? Bai Xiao muttered. 2 million for one. What do you think, Brother Meng? Just now, the earth-shattering spiral slash came from the hands of these people. Even the spiral slash machine was used up. Tang Tian laughed happily while Qin Yuran, who was watching by the side, was dumbstruck. She was still thinking about how to help Big Brother Meng, but in the blink of an eye, Big Brother Meng earned 600 million cloud coins. Tang Tian took out an origin mark box and gave it to Bai Xiao. What about this? There was a high chance that a certain clan had discovered a brand new metal suitable for forging weapons, and thus began to embark on the path of arms dealers. However, it would be difficult to find a buyer for such a large quantity of weapons without any connections. Law fragment. Tang Tian explained, inside every origin mark box, there is a law fragment sealed inside, and its power is not bad. Tang Tian took out the black gold armor. What about this? But from the other party's reaction, it seemed as though he did not roam the world often. Because the other party did not have any reaction to his and Qin Yu Ran's names, as long as one was slightly knowledgeable, they would have heard of young noble Bai Xiao and soul singer Qin Yu Ran. There's still one more box. Tang Tian said. Bai Xiao took it and looked at it carefully and was surprised. This is the first time this little brother has seen such a material. The workmanship is excellent, the feel is good, the hardness is very high, the energy load needs to be tested, but I think selling it for 50 to 60,000 cloud coins should not be a problem. Zhou Xian was also somewhat impressed. He had been dealing with weapons for many years, and had to admit that Bai Xiao's valuation was extremely accurate. Tang Tian thought about what Bing had said and took out a black wind blade and handed it over. Qin Yu Ran took over and said sincerely, Big Brother Meng is going to the White Sands continent. If there is anything, please come and find this little sister. This little sister will be staying in the White Sands continent for a period of time. This little sister has some connections in the White Sands continent. Big Brother Meng, please do not treat me as an outsider. What is this? Bai Xiao sized up the small bronze box in his hands, filled with curiosity. Good. Tang Tian was overjoyed. He did not expect the origin mark box to be so valuable. But thinking about it, the remnant spirit treasures were not cheap. But since there was a way to earn money, everything else was not a problem. Arms dealer? Bai Xiao's expression did not change, but his heart was shocked. He never thought that he would meet such elites here. From the moment they entered the hall, the 46 of them did not even move a finger. He felt that Yu Ran's luck was truly good, to be able to meet such an elite team on the road. She was an intelligent person, she was good with money and power, her thoughts were exquisite. Upon hearing the name, she guessed that it was most likely a fake name, but her face did not reveal any of it. Instead, she took the opportunity to praise Tang Tian. Bai Xiao did not think too much, although she was surprised that Meng Nan was not familiar with the market, but came out to do business. She thought that he must be out to gain experience and happily agreed, no problem. She had decided to buy a few of Big Brother Meng's treasures at a high price, and help Big Brother Meng get through this difficult time. If she was not worried, Big Brother Meng's ego was strong, she was willing to help him. Compared to saving his life, what was money? The other party used a fake name, he must have some misgivings walking the Jianghu. Such a situation was very common. What a pity. Bai Xiao, who was at the side, had a warm smile on his face, the paper fan in his hand closed, his face full of surprise. Brother Meng's bravery has truly opened Bai Xiao's eyes. In truth, this little brother finally mustered up the courage and was prepared to fight to the death with the pirates. I pushed open the cabin door, but in the end I saw the spiraling slash that covered the sky, and that bit of courage immediately disappeared without a trace. Until now, this little brother's legs are still weak. Bai Xiao also thought that Tang Tian was using a fake name, and what business, how could he have elite bodyguards? Bai Xiao had traveled the world and had seen countless of famous armies, and the 40 elite bodyguards in front of him were definitely the elites of the elites. He had to remind them. When they were training, they had experimented. 10 people's energy were injected into the black wind blade at the same time, but the black wind blade did not break. Bai Xiao was surprised but immediately felt that it was natural. If they were arms dealers, it would not be strange to have such elite bodyguards. It was his first time seeing such a black gold weapon, and seeing Tang Tian's newbie performance, he understood. Tang Tian spoke earnestly to the two of them. For war equipment like warships, it must be of high quality. You must find someone who knows and check it properly. If you are careless during normal times in battle, it will most likely become a fatal flaw. Bai Xiao suddenly stood up, his face filled with disbelief. Just now that was only 300 pieces. Bai Xiao looked at Tang Tian as though he was looking at a monster. After a long while, he then mocked himself. Please don't use such words that this little brother can't take it. Where did you get so many law fragments from? The cooked duck flew away. The meat that was in his mouth was gone. The young man was not happy. They are truly elites. Bai Xiao was moved. then the price will have to be doubled, at least 100,000 cloud coins. A pity there is no blade intent. If there was blade intent, then the price would be a different matter. After saying that, he immediately realized and apologized. Sorry, this one did not have the intention to inquire. Brother Meng, name a price. This little brother wants all of this chest. Tang Tian took the money card. The purple-colored money card was noble and elegant. It was already 600 million. How could it not be noble and elegant? His heart was thumping so hard. What was going on? Tang Tian did not say a word. He angrily poured water into his mouth. Flask after flask. Behind him, Zhou Xian led the underworld continent's demonic mounts and stood there quietly like 46 statues. Tang Tian was furious in his heart. The warship's workmanship was truly terrible. It had been destroyed twice. How could it still be used? Hey, how can a war equipment be made so crudely? Qin Yu Ran and Bai Xiao looked at each other. They had decided that once they reached the White Sands continent, they would conduct a complete overhaul of the warship. The underworld continent's demonic mounts behind Tang Tian, who were like statues from the start, all trembled. A few of their breathing became hurried. All of them had 6 in their hands. Oh my god, doesn't that mean they have 12 million cloud coins? No need to be polite, I am Meng Nan. Tang Tian was gloomy, a wild beast roaring in his heart. The young man was not happy. Not happy. The young man was not happy. Oh, recently money has been tight, we need to go sell some things. Tang Tian did not hide anything. Bai Xiao and Qin Yu Ran were startled by Tang Tian's sudden warning. Bai Xiao quickly displayed his young master character. How could he be called a young master if he lacked money? Without saying a word, he took out a money card and gave it to Tang Tian. This nameless money card has 600 million cloud coins. Brother Meng, please take a look. Bai Xiao flipped it over and over, injecting energy into it. After inspecting it for a long time, he raised his head and said with a confident tone, my teacher in the academy is called Joseph. In the past 10 years, he is the only grandmaster who has ever published a thesis on the Empyrean ice tree spears. And I was fortunate enough to participate in his experiments. I can say responsibly that this is the Empyrean ice tree spear, a genuine Empyrean ice tree spear. Bai Xiao tested it and said, it is well made. The price is slightly more expensive than the blade and can be sold for 150,000 cloud coins. Bai Xiao and Qin Yu Ran were surprised. Meng Nan's expression did not seem to be fake. Could he really be a businessman? Qin Yu Ran had an additional thought. She noticed the first half of Tang Tian's sentence, money is a little tight, and immediately formed an image in her mind of a family that was in dire straits, and a young master who had not been involved in worldly affairs for a long time, under the accompaniment of a loyal bodyguard, sold his family's treasures to tide through the crisis. Tang Tian took out an Empyrean ice tree branch and gave it to Bai Xiao. What about this? His eyes darkened and he fainted. Qin Yu Ran confirmed the guess in her heart. Zhou Xian was immediately comforted. Finally, I am not the only one who admitted my mistake. Even the powerful Bai Xiao admitted his mistake. He could not help but cough lightly and reminded Meng Nan proudly, young Master Bai, please take a closer look. Although this is similar to the Empyrean ice tree spear, but it is not the Empyrean ice tree spear. Zhou Xian's smile froze on his face. He was dumbstruck. Zhou Xian, who was by the side, spoke out proudly. This blade can withstand the combined strength of 10 people. Tang Tian felt that the 2 people in front of him were very experienced and immediately became happy. Can I trouble the 2 of you to help me take a look and see which items are more valuable? Chapter 597. Tang Tian made up his mind. When he reached White Sands continent, he would definitely go to the shipyard to order a few warships. Pa. Tang Tian suddenly asked, Old Sure, how much does one warship cost? In between words, he was probing the origins of the Empyrean ice tree spears. It was the first time that so many Empyrean ice tree spears had appeared, and he was extremely interested in Meng Nan's background. All right. Tang Tian happily agreed. He believed that the master would not have any problems with recruiting people. One underworld continent demonic mounts only required 2 million cloud coins, 10 of them were 20 million, 10 of them were 200 million, and 500 of them were only 1 billion. Bai Zhao's expression was serious. When we reach White Sands continent, I will ask my family to send the money over. I hope that Brother Meng can leave some for this little brother. Upon lying down, the tiredness was like a tide drowning Tang Tian. In the battle, his body had suffered from the continuous energy attacks, and his physical strength was greatly depleted. He was overly excited during the battle and did not feel anything. Now that he was resting, he could not hold on any longer and fell into a deep sleep. Although quantity can cause qualitative change, but qualitative change will always be stronger than quantity. Bai Xiao immediately understood and was surprised. Could it be that Brother Meng still has more? Qin Yuran's eyes moved. Brother Bai, don't fight with this little sister. 20 million, this little sister can have another treasure. His body actually became stronger again. Most of them are. Bai Xiao said, but there are too many of them and there will be a few that have gained intelligence and they call it awakening. The awakened blue dwarves are extremely intelligent, and if they are willing to pledge loyalty to the blue oceans, they will immediately obtain a high position. But there are also many awakened blue dwarves who have their own thoughts and live together. The current culture of the blue dwarves has many origins from these different species. When Tang Tian woke up, his entire body felt extremely comfortable and he subconsciously stretched his body. Tang Tian kept the Empyrean ice tree spears and chatted for a while. Seeing that Qin Yuran was tired, everyone dispersed. When he woke up, he felt that the world was truly fair, and a strong sense of superiority surfaced in his heart. If Bai Xiao knew that the master's Empyrean ice tree spears could cover the entire training grounds, what expression would he have? In his deep sleep, Tang Tian's breathing was long and drawn out. His body rose and fell rhythmically. In the blue world, only high-level blue dwarves who are loyal to Blue Ocean have the qualifications to wield the Empyrean ice tree spear. However, after the intense ecstasy after Zhou Xian calmed down, was it because he was too shocked that he became numb? Bai Xiao said solemnly he had once come into contact with the Empyrean ice tree spear, and knew its power like the back of his hand. Gray flames suddenly emerged from his skin and burned silently. The energy of the day kept attacking, and a small part of the impurities inevitably rushed into his body. With the burning of the null flames, the impurities in the energy were quickly destroyed. What an invasive gaze, it was shockingly powerful. Bai Xiao laughed bitterly in his heart. I still have 800 million cloud coins. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He suddenly realized, the zero energy body and the warship were a perfect match. If the warship was filled with zero energy bodies, how strong would their fighting strength be? He calmed his heart and began to immerse himself in his cultivation. Qin Yuran was surprised. I thought they were all stupid and did not have any intelligence. Isn't this a very good way to cultivate? A bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears that were half the height of a human. Isn't this a perfect match? Without waiting for Bai Xiao to speak, Tang Tian waved his hand and said generously, I'll gift this to you. No problem. Tang Tian picked out 110 spears and placed them in front of Bai Xiao. At the same time he opened his palm. He looked at Tang Tian reluctantly as he once again bundled up the Empyrean ice tree spears. The 100 Empyrean ice tree spears only caused the bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears to lose a small portion. Are there only blue dwarves in the blue world? Are they very big? Qin Yuran asked curiously. It was dead silence. After a moment Bai Xiao laughed bitterly. Brother Meng truly lives up to his name, too ferocious. I am even suspecting that you guys have ransacked the Blue Dwarf City? The null flames became smaller and smaller until it disappeared. Fundamental martial techniques were the best standard. He was too familiar with them and any minute changes would not escape his eyes. Through the fundamental martial techniques he could clearly feel the changes in his body. No problem. Tang Tian waved his hand and said generously, the feeling of being rich was truly different. It truly is worth a lot of money. Bai Xiao nodded his head. It has two uses, one is for research, the other is to refine the blue poison. If it is auctioned, this spear should be worth more than 10 million cloud coins. It is extremely vast, they have their own city and their own culture. Bai Xiao said, the blue dwarf's race is much bigger than what we can imagine. What we have seen is just the tip of the iceberg. The main body of the blue world is spread throughout the void. And through the void their tentacles reach out to the various continents, and that is why the blue tide appears everywhere. Before he finished speaking, bang, a bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears landed in front of Bai Xiao. The dust that was stirred up had the smell of cloud coins. After thinking about the details of what happened yesterday, he quickly understood the situation. Completely ignoring Qin Yuran's surprised face, he turned and asked Bai Xiao, do you really want to buy it? Seeing that Tang Tian had earned one. For billion in the blink of an eye, Qin Yuran was happy and disappointed at the same time. She was happy that big brother Meng Nan had money, but disappointed because she was unable to help. She secretly noted down the matter when they reach White Sands continent. Maybe she could help big brother Meng. Big brother Bai knows a lot. Qin Yuran's face was filled with worship. She pointed to the Empyrean ice tree spears. Then aren't the Empyrean ice tree spears worth a lot of money? Master shouldn't object, right? He should. I'm so nervous, what do I do? The Empyrean ice tree spears are a special product of the blue dwarves. They are birthed from the blue sea and are formed from energy crystals. Its most unique aspect is that it contains a type of energy poison. We call it the blue poison. This energy poison has yet to be discovered in other places. It is able to quickly corrode energy. The speed is fast. The poison is tyrannical. It is shocking. From the looks of it, although the energy burden would cause a certain amount of damage to the body, but to the zero energy body, it was extremely beneficial. He practiced the fundamental martial techniques for a while. This was his warm-up. She had the heart to help big brother Meng Nan, although her family was not considered rich, but she could still take out 20 million. Although she knew that big brother Meng Nan had just earned 600 million, and did not lack 20 million, but she still wanted to express her feelings. The debt of saving her life was as heavy as a mountain. Upon returning to the room, Zhou Xian immediately spoke up. Master, the plan to replenish the underworld continent's demonic mounts. Having just experienced an extremely dangerous battle, everyone was physically and mentally exhausted. Bai Zhao's heart jumped. Could it be that he truly had a lot? But upon thinking about the money card in his pocket, he no longer had any misgivings, but he was still cautious. If it is a lot, then we can't use the auction price. 8 million cloud coins for one, how about that? Zhou Xian's face revealed a look of ecstasy. After so many years, it was the first time that his team was able to replenish with new blood. Bai Zhao was dumbstruck. His eyes stared straight at the densely packed Empyrean ice tree spears, his expression sluggish. No problem, look for me when you have money. Tang Tian patted his chest, feeling very heroic. And it can even help the zero energy body evolve. Become stronger. Replenish 500 men, that means I can have 45 more men as reserves. I'll do it like that. But for now, I need to properly digest my gains. A series of explosions came out from his body, causing him to jump in fright. He immediately inspected his body carefully, and in the next moment, his face revealed a look of joy. Although it was just a trace, but the slight strengthening was not easy. Warship. I must definitely buy a warship. Qin Yuran covered her mouth with both hands. She could not believe her own eyes. Tang Tian yawned and said unclearly, let's rest. 8 million for one, 10 for 80 million, 10 for 800 million. 100. Oh, the first customer, I'll gift you 10. Tang Tian muttered to himself. Pushing open the training grounds, there was no one inside. After experiencing the battle yesterday, everyone needed to rest regardless of whether it was their bodies or their minds. They all needed to rest. How many do you need? Tang Tian asked. After calming himself down, he sat down and started to think. The improvement of the body was not without reason. After thinking about it, the only possible reason was the battle yesterday. Chapter 598. Bai Zhao was suddenly enlightened and praised. Yuran still sees things clearly. This foolish brother has been blinded. Oh, so many people. Tang Tian looked at the densely packed people below and was speechless. He was at a loss, but suddenly he understood that was what he needed to think and clarify. He was filled with gratitude towards Meng Nan. If not for Meng Nan, he would have thought that he was living a carefree life, but in truth he was living a muddle-headed life. I never thought that I would actually see the real underworld continent's demonic mounts here. When Qin Yuran walked out of the warship, the crowd outside immediately exploded. Tang Tian scratched his chin. He felt that pulling magic flute to earn money was a good idea. In the battle yesterday he should have been the one who was the most tired, but why did he seem to be fine? Could it be that in his eyes the battle was not even worth mentioning? These fellows are too perverse. How can such coordination be done? Thus the scene in front of them happened. Qin Yuran was hailed as the singer who uses her soul to sing, and in the sacred Saint Galaxy's 10,000 continents, she had an extremely high reputation. Wherever she went, she would be enthusiastically chased after by all the influential people of the various continents. Tang Tian laughed out loud. Don't worry, you can have as many as you want. What do I really want to do? And at this time Big Brother Meng Nan actually ran to the training grounds. Because I have something I want to do. Qin Yu Ran opened her eyes. It was warm and soft. The air was filled with her favorite incense. The bedroom was quiet and serene as though it was a lifetime ago. She stretched lazily, got out of bed, washed up, and leisurely started to eat her breakfast and drink her tea. Hearing the servant chattering about how Big Brother Meng Nan had gone to the training grounds early in the morning, she was startled, and subconsciously put down the pastries in her hands. Qin Yu Ran became even more curious. She did not disturb the others and went over. Through the glass she could see the entire training grounds and immediately realized it was the group of bodyguards under Big Brother Meng Nan. Qin Yu Ran covered her mouth. She almost cried out. She never thought that Big Brother Meng Nan would actually do such a thing. Her heart was filled with worry. How could the proud and arrogant Bai Xiao endure such humiliation? With Zhou Xian and the others attracting attention, Tang Tian's cultivation was not as conspicuous. He was very surprised. She definitely didn't want to recall the battle yesterday. At that time, the despair and fear almost occupied her body and mind, making her unable to struggle. Tang Tian rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, I was wondering why this scene was so familiar. Isn't this what magic flute usually does? Sai, we can pull magic flute over to perform. It must be very popular. I wonder if we can earn money. Moreover, this boss was very nice to them. Tang Tian cultivated for a full 4 hours before he stopped and prepared to return to his room to take a shower. Upon leaving the training grounds he met Bai Xiao and Qin Yu Ran. Bai Xiao laughed. Brother Meng is truly hardworking. No wonder you are so powerful. This little brother admires you. Miss Qin seems to be very popular. Zhou Xian said through the window. Bai Xiao was left. His face was green and red. Suddenly his heart was filled with shame. He was born of a noble background, his talent was astonishing, and at such a young age he had already made a name for himself, traveling the world, making friends, talking loudly and boastfully. He had always been content with his leisurely life. Everyone was full of praises for him and everyone said that his future was boundless. Very quickly the warship docked at the pier and the commotion outside came out. He was both admiring and envious of Meng Nan, admiring his fighting spirit and diligence, but envious that Meng Nan was already very clear of his own goal, the intense fighting spirit and fighting intent that assaulted his face. He could clearly feel the intense desire that could not be concealed beneath his perspiration. Qin Yu Ran's eyes lit up. Magic flute. After she finished her breakfast she anxiously walked towards the training grounds. When she reached the training grounds she realized that it was filled with people. She was filled with gratitude towards Bai Xiao, to be able to stand up for him in the face of danger. This was something that not many people could do. She did not want to see the two of them become enemies and being friends was the best. Big Brother Bai Xiao had many connections and was also shrewd. With his help Big Brother Meng Nan would definitely earn a lot of money. This word was obviously related to music. The people following him were all old soldiers. All of them were proud and arrogant, and similarly could not tolerate it and strongly requested for the daily training to increase the intensity. This request was unanimously agreed upon by everyone. The true underworld continent's demonic mounts are brave and good at fighting, persevering and indomitable with strict disciplines, skilled in battle formations. They are the strongest elite soldiers in the world and were once the king of soldiers. Bai Xiao stared at Zhou Xian and the rest who were sweating profusely and praised. Furthermore, all of them are old soldiers with at least 10 years of experience. The only regretful thing is they are no longer young. If they were 10 years younger just based on these 46 men, they would definitely be a force that cannot be ignored. Qin Yu Ran decided to take a look. Qin Yu Ran secretly noted it down in her heart. She tidied up her clothes and smiled sweetly at Tang Tian. Big Brother Meng, I'll be leaving first. Tang Tian patted Bai Xiao's shoulder and advised, Xiao Bai, you have to be serious too. Perspiration will not lie. I'm going to take a bath. But Meng Nan's words were simple and unadorned, but it was like a huge bell, causing him to be deeply shaken. A person stronger than him had told him not to waste time. Perspiration will not lie. Who exactly are they? Bai Xiao was startled and said, maybe they are used to it. Habits formed from being in the army for a long time are not something that can be changed in a day or two. I have seen those old soldiers and some of them will maintain the habit of training until they can no longer train anymore. Qin Yu Ran then noticed that Zhou Xian's white hair was drenched in perspiration and could not bear it. Why are they still training so hard? They're already so old. And Xiao Bai. The true underworld continent's demonic mounts? Qin Yu Ran pondered over his words. The underworld continent's demonic mounts have truly declined for a long time, and the current underworld continent's demonic mounts in the market, 9 out of 10 are fake and not even one is real. Even among the underworld continent's locals, there are not many who are willing to participate in the demonic mount test. But these people are the true underworld continent's demonic mounts. Bai Xiao said solemnly. Zhou Xian thought even more, since the master had already agreed to replenish them with new blood, then they had to make preparations early. It had been a long time since they had such a complete group. Bai Xiao's voice sounded out beside her, filled with emotions and surprise, and Qin Yu Ran then realized that unknowingly Bai Xiao had also arrived beside her. But she was attracted by Bai Xiao's words. Underworld continent's demonic mounts? You mean the underworld continent's demonic mounts? Seeing that Bai Xiao had already made arrangements, Qin Yu Ran calmed down. Big brother Meng, are you really not coming with us? Qin Yu Ran stared at Tang Tian with her beautiful eyes, her face pleading. Miss, we are going out. And Qiu reminded. The other underworld continent's demonic mounts were also ashamed. It was fine if they were not as strong as the master, but to not even be as hardworking as the master, they truly deserved to die. And in the battle yesterday, it was completely the master who fought alone, and they did not have much use. To the self-proclaimed elites of the underworld continent's demonic mounts, to obtain safety under the protection of their boss, there was nothing more humiliating than that. He then pointed out, Brother Meng's background truly makes one curious. An origin mark box that I have never heard of before, and such an astonishing number of Empyrean ice tree spears. And the bodyguards by your side are actually real underworld continent's demonic mounts. I am afraid that Brother Meng's family is even more astonishing than what I imagined. What a high synchronization rate, it definitely exceeds 80%. Oh my god. What did I see? Bai Xiao was startled. He never thought that Tang Tian would actually say such words. But Tang Tian's expression was extremely serious, and he could clearly feel that it was his true thoughts. Bai Xiao was obviously more thoughtful. He laughed. Brother Meng likes peace and quiet, then I won't force it. I have already booked a room for you guys at the White Sands Hotel. You guys can directly go there and stay. Brother Meng, please don't blame me for being a busybody. I am still thinking about the Empyrean ice tree spears in Brother Meng's hands. Please leave one for me. Bai Zhao's heart trembled. Could it be that other than that bundle he still had more in stock? Suddenly he was filled with suspicion towards his own purchasing power. He had already sent a letter to his mentor and decided to contact a few more families and buy all the Empyrean ice tree spears. On the same day, the White Sands Continent's fleet who had received the news personally came to receive them, and when the Bloodwood warship arrived at the White Sands Continent, it received a warm welcome. But at the moment, all of the elites were filled with shock as though they had seen a ghost, and would occasionally exclaim out in surprise. Zhou Xian's heart became ruthless. If in the future boss had to be at the front of every battle, then what was the use of them? Fighting was already the only thing that the group of old fellows could do. They definitely could not fall to such a state. Bai Zhao's face gradually calmed down. He raised his head and laughed bitterly. I am not as good as Brother Meng. When Zhou Xian woke up and knew that Tang Tian was training, he was extremely ashamed. Since when did the leader train and his subordinates slack off? Such a laughable thing. How could it happen to the elites of the underworld continent's demonic mounts? Tang Tian was not humble at all and nodded his head. Of course, because I want to become even more powerful, I still have many things to do and cannot waste time. Without saying a word, they all rushed to the training grounds and started to train. Surrounding them were the bodyguards of the fleet. They were all hired by Aunt Qiu for a high price, and all of them had at least 5 years of military experience. They were adept in battle formations, their individual strengths were outstanding, and were the elites of their respective continents. Qin Yu Ran laughed sweetly. Big brother Bai Xiao has helped me a lot. It was not only her, even Bai Xiao was under immense pressure, and it could be seen from the fact that he had not woken up yet. All of the elite bodyguards that were hired for a high price were also dispirited. Qin Yu Ran looked at Bai Xiao, then retracted her gaze. What has it got to do with us? I only know that Big Brother Meng saved my life, and if that is the case, being friends is better than being enemies. Not going, not going. Tang Tian shook his head. I want to go buy things. Training grounds. Chapter 599. Zhou Xian was moved, but his face did not show it and only nodded his head. All right. Following the manager's introduction, the dazzling array of weapons on the shelves caused Tang Tian to be dazzled. Compared to the spirit treasures in Heaven's Road, the sacred Saint Galaxy's weapons did not have much spirituality, but they were filled with killing intent, and the most miraculous thing was that many of the weapons contained sword concepts. Just as the two of them were discussing, the door was pushed open and Tang Tian walked out. Let's go, let's get down to business. They had just entered the trading house when a manager welcomed them. Welcome to Suji Worldwide Commerce, how can I serve you? Tang Tian said without hesitation. I'll buy 50 sets first, old Shi, and the rest of you can have one each. I want to go to the biggest trading house. Tang Tian said without hesitation. This is White Sand City's biggest weapon street. The entire street is filled with trading houses that sell weapons. All sorts of valuable goods from different continents are all on the shelves. As long as you have money, you can buy any weapon, including warships. The hotel manager introduced proudly. There's a Suji Worldwide Commerce here? Zhou Xian suddenly became excited. The other underworld continent demonic mounts beside him were all extremely excited. Su Jin was also stunned, but he had seen the world before, although his heart was in a perilous state, but his face remained calm. Can this one appraise it? The manager's tone was warm but not flattering. He recognized the manager of the White Sands Hotel as the highest grade hotel in the city. The White Sands Hotel was loved by the rich and powerful. Tang Tian asked curiously, what's the standard? The two of them were roused. For the sake of not attracting too much attention, Zhou Xian brought 10 people. Very quickly, following the increase in grade, the price of the weapons caused people's faces to turn ashen. Su Jin touched it and knew that it was real Empyrean Ice Tree Spears, real Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. He was secretly excited. The astonishing amount of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears in front of him was definitely the biggest transaction of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears in history. Su Jin was surprised. With a smile on his face, he extended his hand and said, please follow me. 100 million cloud coins. He did not even hesitate. He was definitely a tyrant. The biggest trading house? The hotel manager looked at Tang Tian. The biggest trading house here is the Suji Worldwide Commerce. With a few thousand years of history, they have a wide range of goods. But they have a rule that if you want to enter the trading firm, you have to pay at least 100 million. 500,000 cloud coins for one night. Alung clicked his tongue. He had just heard about it. When Bai Xiao booked the hotel, she specially booked a floor for them to stay in. As long as it meets the shop standards, you can buy it, the manager said. Su Jin's heart jumped. This sentence meant that this person had a large number of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. He forced himself to calm down and said with a smile, the liquid funds in Su Ji's account is 70 billion. As long as it doesn't exceed a certain number, there shouldn't be a problem. If it does, then I can apply for permission. It shouldn't be too much of a problem if it's within 100 billion. But the price of the sword was as high as 20 billion cloud coins, causing everyone's expression to freeze. Tang Tian, who had just felt that he was very rich, suddenly felt that he was poor. This hotel is really luxurious. It must cost quite a lot for one night. Zhou Xian was a little hesitant as he looked around. The decorations of the hotel were extremely luxurious and exquisite. Is it famous? Tang Tian was surprised. 50 sets of wind dispelling ointment. The manager recorded it down. He did not make a fuss. 20 million cloud coins was just a small business. How many are there? Tang Tian asked. Tang Tian threw out 10 bundles of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. As for high-grade weapons, they contained laws, but most of these laws were incomplete. Empyrean Ice Tree Spears? The manager's face revealed a look of shock. He said cautiously, I will have to ask the shopkeeper about this. May I ask if you want to sell the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears? Oh. Tang Tian shook his head. He looked at Su Jin. How many more can you buy? Su Jin nodded his head in his heart. It was a reliable price. The other party had obviously done their research. He said straightforwardly, deal. And in terms of medical supplies, we first recommend Benevolent Hall's Evil Dispelling Ointment. Its use is to remove the hidden injuries left behind by long-term energy corrosion in the body. Out of the 2,400 similar products, we have carefully tested and compared them, and finally picked out Benevolent Hall's Evil Dispelling Ointment, because its effect is the most outstanding. It can even remove the hidden injuries left behind over 10 years. Every bottle of evil dispelling ointment is sold for 400,000 cloud coins, although it is expensive, but we still give it a 5-star recommendation. The hotel manager was secretly happy. The people he brought along could get a 5% commission. He initially thought that the group of people were peasants and could not hide their rustic aura, but due to his professional conduct he was still very dedicated to serving them. Who knew that they were rich? Weapons that cost 5 billion cloud coins were only high-level weapons. Our shop's goods are mainly separated into individual weapons and army weapons. Please follow me. This side is the A area. It displays all of our shop's individual weapons. Among them are weapons, armor, support, medical supplies, etc. The manager gave an extremely detailed data, which was extremely convincing. Yes. Tang Tian said straightforwardly. In the VIP lounge, Zhou Xian said, "Sire is preparing to sell the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears. I wonder if I can take a look? Sounds powerful." Tang Tian's eyes lit up. "Let's go to the Suji Worldwide Commerce." Xian jumped in fright. His face was filled with pain. So expensive? What a waste. It's 500,000. Why don't they just rob someone? At the top of the weapons rack, there was a scarlet-red sword, emitting an astonishing aura. The energy around it was continuously being absorbed by it. Tang Tian curiously asked the manager to take a look. The manager did not reject, and handed the sword to Tang Tian's hands. Tang Tian then realized the treasured sword called Scarlet Snake actually had a complete law inside. Alright. Tang Tian was extremely straightforward. Bang. A bundle of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears was thrown onto the carpet. "No problem." Tang Tian waved his hand. Zhou Xian, who had never lost his composure before, had his mouth wide open like a fool. He was dumbstruck. Yes. The situation that a lone ranger has to face will always be complicated and ever-changing. This also means that they need more methods to adapt to the situation. In our statistics, the importance of medical supplies is second only to weapons and armors. We will always advise these types of customers to increase their investment. In our statistics, lone rangers who carry medical supplies that cost more than 2 million cloud coins, their average lifespan is 5 times that of those who do not invest more than 1 million in medical supplies. They were all country bumpkins. How could they have seen such a luxurious place before? "Then are you buying the Empyrean Ice Tree Spears?" Tang Tian asked directly. In this aspect, the hotel manager was obviously more professional. He continued. The Suji Worldwide Commerce specializes in high-end weapons trading in the entire Sacred Saint Galaxy. The Suji Worldwide Commerce can enter the top 5. They have a unique characteristic. They do not only sell their own weapons. As long as there is a weapon that they feel is outstanding, they will automatically place it on the Suji Worldwide Commerce's shelves. Many weapon shops take pride in their own products being able to enter the Suji Worldwide Commerce. Very famous. They only sell high-quality goods and are extremely famous. Xian, who was overly excited, did not know how to describe it. Zhou Jin's tone was filled with confidence. Since when did the Suji Worldwide Commerce worry about money? Everyone in the VIP lounge took in a deep breath of cold air. Everyone was shocked by the Suji Worldwide Commerce's wealth. Xian and the rest's hearts turned cold. All of them revealed bitter smiles. They were still dreaming of being rich, but suddenly realized that they could not even afford a warship. Because of Bai Xiao, Tang Tian and the rest enjoyed the treatment of White Sands Hotel's VIP guests. The hotel provided excellent service, and a manager acted as their guide. The manager said, "This depends on the grade. Warships start at 5 billion, warships start at 20 billion, and there is no upper limit. In the evaluation of similar products, to be able to enter the top 5, that is my shop's standard." The manager's tone was calm, but it revealed a sense of pride. Bang bang bang. Only Tang Tian was not shaken. He smiled happily. "That's great." During the inspection, Zhou Xian, who had already counted them, said generously, "A total of 106.8048 billion. Let's take it as 1 billion. Please wait a moment." The manager left in a hurry, and after a moment, a middle-aged man dressed in blue came to Tang Tian's shop and cupped his fists. "I am Zhou Xian, my shop's shopkeeper. May I ask who wants to sell Empyrean Ice Tree Spears?" The large VIP lounge immediately quietened down. The 10 bundles of Empyrean Ice Tree Spears took up more than half of the room. Under the light, the pure and translucent Empyrean ice tree spears looked like blue gemstones, causing people to be dazzled. 8 million cloud coins for one. Tang Tian said. Medical treatment? Tang Tian was surprised. Zhou Xian and the rest looked at the endless store and all of them took in cold breaths. Regardless of anything, he wanted to buy a warship. The VIP lounge immediately quietened down. Everyone was stunned by the bundle of Empyrean ice tree spears. The manager revealed looks of shock. Crazy Tang did not forget that the most important mission of this trip was to run a business. In the future, the Sword Forest stronghold would definitely produce black gold, and finding a market was their most urgent mission. The other two matters were to purchase a report on the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent, and the other was to purchase warships. Bring us to take a look, Tang Tian said loudly. All three matters were extremely important. I wonder how many there are, Zhou Xian asked. He carefully checked through them, afraid that he might miss something. After a long while, he stood up and exhaled. I wonder how much you are willing to sell all these Empyrean ice tree spears for? Me. Tang Tian raised his hand. You are not satisfied with the price? Zhou Xian was surprised. Only 1 billion. Tang Tian was dissatisfied. It was still far from a warship. All right. The manager was extremely professional. He did not ask why. The customers that came here were all wealthy, and their tempers were often eccentric and they were long used to it. Tang Tian did not mind but asked, Do you buy weapons here? His face became even more respectful, and he brought Tang Tian and his group towards the Suji Worldwide Commerce. The Suji Worldwide Commerce was at the center of the entire street. The size of the shop made the other trading companies pale in comparison. Many. Tang Tian said. Seeing the string of zeros that made people dizzy, Tang Tian suddenly thought of a terrible question. May I ask how much is a warship? Chapter 600. Zhou Xian gave a time limit. 3 days. Tang Tian nodded repeatedly at Zhou Xian's words. With so much money, how many armies can we build? The hotel manager's expression changed drastically. Soul research. This is a bottomless pit with no hope. This Suji Worldwide Commerce's silver VIP card is a small token of my appreciation. With this card, you can enjoy a 5% discount at any of the Suji Worldwide Commerce's stores. You can also use this card to withdraw up to 100 million from any of the Suji Worldwide Commerce's stores. He had to rope in such a potential customer. That's right, the Honorable Martial Continent succeeded. But how many people are learning from them? Who else succeeded? Not one. This is a bottomless pit. No amount of money is enough to fill it. The hotel manager's attitude was fierce. No problem, Zhou Xian agreed. Richard said non-committally, my research isn't cheap. But the Empyrean ice tree spears, as the only customer that could provide such a large amount of Empyrean ice tree spears, Tang Tian had displayed immense potential, and was worth Zhou Xian to rope in. Tang Tian also understood, wasn't this a weapon that was naturally suitable for Zhou Xian and his underworld continent's demonic mounts? Stop bragging. Do you know how expensive things related to souls are? The hotel manager retorted sarcastically, tens of billions of dollars spent on soul research are as many as the hairs on an ox. Richard felt a little guilty, but when he thought of his son, he threw caution to the wind. He's researching souls. All right. Zhou Xian was not unhappy with Zhou Xian's interruption. Heaven-binding Ghost Blade, a silver rank warship weapon. Its furthest attack range is 15,000 meters. For a single person to control it, it needs to be at least a silver saint. If it was controlled by multiple people, it would require more than 20 martial artists who were proficient in saber arts. Its energy load was not high, but it had a high requirement for the synchronization rate. If the synchronization rate was lower than 70%, it could not be used. When the synchronization rate reached above 75%, it would reach its standard power. Every time the synchronization rate increases, its power will increase significantly. He thought about the Shang continent's estuary. It was pitifully small and immediately said, the warship body needs to be narrow, but its firepower needs to be ferocious. Its operation needs to be simple and it needs to be nimble. I'll buy it. Tang Tian waved his hand. When they heard the same voices around them, they realized that everyone was feeling the same. The speed at which he earned money was fast enough. And the speed at which he spent money was also not inferior. Tang Tian agreed. Wait. Tang Tian suddenly interrupted. He's researching souls. This was the first silver VIP card he had seen. The moment Su Jin heard Tang Tian's words, he knew that he was a rookie, but he did not try to fool him just because he had no experience. On the contrary, he gave a pertinent suggestion. There's no such thing as the best warship. Due to their different uses, they each have their own strengths. For example, some battleships pursued speed, some pursued firepower, and some pursued defense. There was no difference between them. Mr. Meng, why don't you tell me your specific requirements? I can give you some suggestions. Tang Tian said, then I'll come back in 3 days to get the warship. I'll have the results by then. Su Jin lowered his head and calculated. Adding it all up, it's a total of 65.3 billion. After the discount, it's 62 billion. The remaining 3.5 million will be erased. How long will it take? Tang Tian asked. The entire underworld continent's demonic mounts had 500 men, 12 of them just enough to rotate. In truth, with Tang Tian's standards, it was not enough to obtain the silver VIP card. The silver VIP card required a minimum spending of 100 billion. Ignoring the fact that Tang Tian had not spent it, even if he did, it would only be 90 billion, which was still a bit away from the minimum. Please speak. The hotel manager said. The hotel manager was completely smashed by happiness. He did not receive the 5% commission, because he had already reached the maximum 20 million. Su Jin was overjoyed. The 90 billion that he had just taken out was about to return back to his shop. What could make him happier than that? He laughed. What kind of warship does Mr. Meng need? I want to buy a warship. Tang Tian said loudly. No problem. I recommend the Black Arrow series of warships. It is a silver-grade small-scale warship. Its widest point is 60 m. Its length is 60 m. Its speed and agility in the same type of warships can be ranked in the top 3. The hull is made from black mist wood, which is extremely sturdy and has outstanding stealth capabilities. Its energy barrier is not considered strong with a thickness of 2 m, but with its unique illusion form, it can change the shape of the energy barrier, allowing the warship to gain even more outstanding agility. In terms of firepower, it is also outstanding with 3 silver-grade main cannons. Its might is powerful. 6 silver-grade honeycomb sword cannons, 3 silver-grade star conglomerate spears, and 6 heaven-binding ghost blades. The black metal in his hands was extremely sturdy, and his experience told him that it was an outstanding metal material. Meng Nan had many good things in his hands, causing Su Jin to be surprised. I'll sponsor it. Tang Tian said straightforwardly. No problem. Su Jin agreed. This modification is very simple and only requires 2 days to complete. Other than that, I suggest adding a set of rainbow eyes. It can see through the majority of stealth and camouflage and is one of the top products of the same grade. As for bronze saints, we need 15 people and the energy consumption is very small. Su Jin continued. We will accept the materials, but as for the properties of the materials, we will need to do a detailed analysis before we can give a conclusion. He knew about the limit in the past, but he never thought that he would encounter one. He took out a piece of black gold and threw it to Su Jin. You guys accept the materials. What do you think of this material? I want the best warship. Tang Tian said without hesitation. 11 bundles, 90 billion. The White Sands Academy was the largest and strongest academy in the White Sands continent. The hotel manager used his connections to the maximum, and brought Tang Tian and the rest to the White Sands Academy. Xianxia suddenly interrupted. Please introduce the heaven-binding ghost blade. Xianxia sucked in a breath of cold air. A warship actually cost 62 billion. The room became quiet. Tang Tian immediately paid up, and other than that, medicines and all the equipment on the shelves, he bought one. When the time comes, he would throw it to Sai Lei to research, but it was a pity that the warship was too big. If not, he could get one for Sai Lei to research. At that time, if he could build a warship himself, how great would that be? In the end, the total amount reached 83 billion. But someone succeeded. Richard retorted. Please believe in our sincerity. The hotel manager was confident. He knew that the person behind him had over 7 billion in his hands. No other report would be so expensive. Richard stuck out his neck. Unless you guys sponsor it, I will not give it to you. It's like this, my son, I have an extremely good project and currently needs a sponsor. If you guys are willing to sponsor this project, I am willing to give this report to you. Of course, as a sponsor you guys will be rewarded. Richard said. Walking out of the Suji Worldwide Commerce, the cold wind outside caused Zhou Xian to be more awake. He had just witnessed a transaction of over 10 billion, and was in an extremely excited state. Only then did he completely wake up and could not help but exhale. Yes. Seeing that Tang Tian seemed to be interested, Richard's spirit was roused. We have already found the crux, we only need a certain amount of funds, and after a few experiments we will succeed. The hotel manager looked at the silver VIP card in Su Jin's hand with envy. The Suji Worldwide Commerce's VIP card was extremely difficult to obtain, and it was not something that could be obtained with money. Prestige, reputation, etc. were all factors that needed to be considered. We need to increase the number of heaven-binding ghost blades. Tang Tian thought for a moment. Let's increase it to 12. Tang Tian's motive for doing business was to experience the first-rate equipment, and he could feel that their equipment had a lot of room for improvement. But he knew how important a stable income was to the Sword Forest stronghold. The Empyrean ice tree spears were worth a lot of money, but there would be a day when they would be sold out. In truth, after selling 11 bundles he only had 15 left. He still had to wait for the black gold ingots, and after buying the warships, there was only one thing left, which was the research report regarding the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent. I want it in stock. Tang Tian said. Richard looked at the group of people in front of him curiously, and was surprised. You guys want to buy the Honorable Martial Continent's research report? Su Jin said, small-scale warships, narrow bodies, firepower and agility, and easy to operate. Do you want it in stock or do you need to order it? It will take a longer time to order it, but the requirements will be more in line with your wishes. Even for Su Jin, it was rare for him to encounter such a high price, but after the initial shock he became extremely decisive. If it were any other weapons he would be worried about whether it was worth it or not, but the Empyrean ice tree spears were definitely not a problem. 11 bundles of Empyrean ice tree spears only amounted to 10,000 of them. Everyone was stunned by Tang Tian's extravagance. He had just earned 90 billion, and had to spend 83 billion. After witnessing the power of warships, Tang Tian had long decided that no matter what, he had to get a good warship. He had never planned to save money on such a thing. Yes. The hotel manager replied respectfully. We have heard that you are an authority in this field and we have specially come here hoping to obtain your help. Of course we are willing to pay a corresponding price. Impossible. The hotel manager roared. Hearing that Tang Tian was interested in the rise of the Honorable Martial Continent, the local hotel manager immediately patted his chest and said that he knew where to find it. Everyone could not help but smile. All of their eyes flashed with a light aura of hope. Their future lives, their future battles, it truly made them look forward to it. He was not dissatisfied. 20 million, how many years would he need to earn that amount? It was like a meat pie falling from the sky, to become rich overnight. With the Suji Worldwide Commerce's enormous sales network, throwing over 10,000 Empyrean ice tree spears in would not be a problem. And what made him excited was that when the Empyrean ice tree spears appeared on the Suji Worldwide Commerce's shelves, it would cause a huge commotion. Richard immediately realized that he had met a tycoon, and his attitude quickly became passionate. Please sit, I can give you the report for free, but I have a small request. What project? The hotel manager was astute. Upon hearing that, he immediately understood that it was not a good project. If not, why was there no one sponsoring it? How could an ordinary person raise a fleet? A customer with 90 billion cloud coins had the qualifications to enjoy the Suji Worldwide Commerce's VIP treatment. Richard shrugged his shoulders. There are many families that have suffered attacks from the Honorable Martial Continent, and in a few hundred years, they have directly swallowed up more than 500 continents. On average, they would annex a continent every year. This was only direct annexation. The number of indirect annexations was even higher. However, these 13 clans are not in the Western continent, but in the Southern domain. Richard hesitated. He was struggling internally. But, also, do you know how to negotiate? Don't you know how to quote a price? Don't you know how to beat around the bush? Zhou Xian, who was at the side, did not feel envious. Instead he stared coldly at Richard. As long as His Excellency gave the order, he would not hesitate to pounce forward and break this fellow's neck. The hotel manager stared blankly at Tang Tian. 2 billion, that was 2 billion. Why didn't he study hard back then? Why did I not research the Honorable Martial Continent? Why? They praised the Honorable Martial Continent's team spirit, and thought that although they did not have any leaders, but their outstanding teamwork had pushed them to unprecedented heights. The hotel manager was filled with envy towards Richard. Richard's face turned pale white. If I can find the 13 families, they will be my natural allies. No problem. Tang Tian was overjoyed. We are also very powerful. 2 billion. After witnessing the power of the warships, Tang Tian was clear that Heaven's Road's armies were definitely unable to defend against the armies of the Sacred Saint Galaxy, as both parties were not on the same level. Once Richard made his decision, his actions were decisive. He immediately resigned from his job. When he returned to the hotel, he had another young man by his side, Little Richard. When Little Richard heard that Tang Tian was willing to sponsor him to conduct research on spirits, he did not have any doubts. And when Tang Tian threw him a star treasure, it immediately attracted Little Richard's attention, causing him to be in a daze the entire way. After signing the sponsorship agreement and paying the first 200 million cloud coins, Richard's heart finally calmed down. In truth, he did not approve of his son's decision, but who asked him to be his son? To be able to help his son was Richard's greatest consolation. Zhou Xian and the rest immediately surrounded Richard. The hotel manager took the card and looked at the numbers on it and almost fainted. 100 million cloud coins. Regardless of whether he was foolish or brave, Tang Tian felt that it was good. He was that kind of person. The other party was right. The Honorable Martial Continent had risen in the past few hundred years, and compared to the Gold Continent, which had over 10,000 years of history and tradition, they were the newest upstarts. But in the world, it was not based on experience and history. Strength was the cruelest standard. Tang Tian took the report, sat down and started to read it carefully. This is a research report on the Honorable Martial Continent. In the entire Sacred Saint Galaxy, no one is more authoritative than me. No one understands the Honorable Martial Continent better than me. What are you guys trying to do? This is the White Sands Academy. If you guys dare to make a move here, the White Sands Academy will definitely not let you go. Richard bellowed. After a long while, Richard raised his head, his face still pale white. I can promise you, but you have to guarantee my son's safety. Tang Tian was extremely satisfied with the day's harvest, but he knew that it was just the beginning. If the report was made public, then the Honorable Martial Continent would definitely kill him. His understanding of the Honorable Martial Continent's way of doing things far surpassed anyone else. Although the hotel manager found it hard to understand Tang Tian's choice, but he understood the tyrant. The tyrants in the world were all weird. When a person became a tyrant, he would naturally become weird. Maybe it was a hobby, or maybe there was something that the tyrant was interested in, but in short, he could do whatever he wanted. Following a tyrant was much more promising than being a hotel manager. Just the income from the day was enough for him to not have to worry about his future. Tang Tian turned and praised the hotel manager. You're not bad, this is your reward. I am lacking a representative in the White Sands Academy. Are you interested? Tang Tian suddenly asked. He felt that the hotel manager was very smart and reliable. There are few others. Richard said, this is the southern region. No matter how strong the Honorable Martial Continent is, they cannot reach here. They can only spend money to hire people to do it, but no one will allow the underworld forces to go overboard. It is a challenge to the order. The tyrants of the southern region's aristocratic families will not allow it. And the underworld forces are smarter than anyone else. They are not willing to bring about a disaster for money. I want to find them. What can I do? Tang Tian asked directly. You think you can be so arrogant just because you have some money? All right, you can. Suddenly he noticed a piece of content. The entire western region was enveloped by the Honorable Martial Continent's dazzling light aura. The Honorable Martial Continent had already become one of the top tyrants of the Sacred Saint Galaxy, and its rise was a history of annexation. Many people called this characteristic of the Honorable Martial Continent as undercurrent-style advancement. 13 families? Can you tell me about it? Tang Tian asked. The Sacred Saint Galaxy had tens of thousands of continents, and the Western region had the most with over 4,000 continents of various sizes, but now there were only 2,000 of them. In the past few hundred years, the Honorable Martial Continent continued to strengthen and annex. From a middle-grade continent in the Western region, they quickly became the tyrant of the Western region, and then became the top tyrant of the entire Sacred Saint Galaxy. But now, another person who was able to absorb the advantages of both worlds had appeared, and that was Tang Tian. Furthermore, the Honorable Martial Continent did not know that Tang Tian was already in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Tang Tian interrupted him. Are the 13 families still around? But time was not on Tang Tian's side. I'll give you 2 minutes. Tang Tian said coldly. At that moment, Richard no longer had any suspicions towards Tang Tian. The treasures with spirits were extremely expensive. Tang Tian actually casually gave one to Richard as though it was an ordinary object. Seeing that, Tang Tian already understood what was going on. The reason why the Honorable Martial Continent was able to successfully research on spirits was because they had the Honorable Martial Alliance and Temple, and were able to absorb the advantages of both worlds. Richard's tone of voice was extremely arrogant, with his nose pointing to the sky. The hotel manager's face changed. They were in the White Sands Academy. If a murder were to happen here, then he, the person who pulled the strings, would definitely not be able to escape. No, I have to stop this. What was even more surprising was that in the hundreds of years of the Honorable Martial Continent's rise, there had not been any outstanding geniuses. They had quietly improved on their martial techniques of the Honorable Martial Continent. They had quietly conducted research on spirits. They had quietly formed the Honorable Martial Army, and had quietly annexed other continents. Swoosh, everyone's eyes landed on him. This was something that Tang Tian would never allow. Heaven's Road was his home, and he could not allow it to be trampled on. He had decided to go to Three Spirit City later, and let the Ursa Major constellation join the battle against the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Temple were the Honorable Martial Continent's claws and teeth. 500 million. Tang Tian stared at Richard. There are so many secrets and information, it is not something that an ordinary teacher can obtain. This subordinate is willing. If boss has any errands for me, Hansen will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. He said without hesitation. The hotel manager spoke quickly. Professor, I do not understand why you are rejecting it. Are you afraid of being implicated? Is this report not enough? You have already found out the Honorable Martial Continent's secret. As long as we publicize this report, the Honorable Martial Continent will definitely not let you go. Do you think that you can contend against the Honorable Martial Continent? They cannot destroy the 13 families, but they can easily buy your life with money. Oh, and that includes your son. That is just research, and many of those things were dug out from piles of waste paper. Richard shook his head like a rattle drum. There was no time for Tang Tian to slowly develop. Once the star door was opened, the Honorable Martial Continent's armies would enter Heaven's Road, and that would definitely be a disaster. Hearing that, Tang Tian understood, the 12 ecliptic palaces and onyx soul. It was so crude that it made people's hair stand on end. Tang Tian was never a person who won people over with virtue. He stared at Richard and shouted, Sure Sen. Chapter 602. That's right, that's right. Such a good blade in the hands of an old man, it is such a waste. Why not give it to us? We can still display its might. Everyone subconsciously held their breaths. They had a premonition that the following attack would definitely be earth-shattering. The remaining 3 gathered all of their strength and prepared to withstand the next attack. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 people left. The aura of the 11 of them were one without any flaws, like a raging wave, each wave stronger than the one before, each wave higher than the one before. The short-haired man was surrounded by a group of swift and fierce-looking companions. All of them had sharp expressions, revealing a fierce glint. Dangerous. Everyone was in disbelief. Ah Sang was the most ferocious person out of all of them and was never afraid of the heavens or the earth, but he was actually afraid because of the danger. Everyone looked at Sure Sen and the rest as though they had seen a ghost. The moment when all of the aura disappeared, it completely went against common sense. The fist that was already filled with power, how could it suddenly let go? On the contrary, the light aura around Sure Sen and the rest became extremely gentle. Even the last 3 people had faces of shame. Shi Sen's face revealed a look of disdain. Han Sen's treacherous official appearance made him extremely disgusted. Anyone else want to come out? Shi Sen said indifferently. No more. Someone shouted from below, followed by chuckles. The underworld continent's demonic mounts behind Shi Sen slowly raised the black wind blade in their hands. That's possible. One look and I can tell he's a fool with too much money. I'm going up. But the good thing was that they had already found their target and the enemy did not know of their existence. This gave them an advantage. Other than the fact that they were pressed for time, Tang Tian felt that their chances of winning were still very high. It was truly a disgrace to be on the same side as such a person with no backbone. The remaining 14 people were bitterly holding on, all of them clenched their teeth, veins popping out, the energy in their bodies being pushed to the limit, all of their bodies enveloped with a thick light aura. Good. Shi Sen's expression was calm. To be able to persevere for 30 seconds you pass. Everyone was shocked. The synchronization rate definitely exceeded 80%. What made them even more afraid was that out of the 11 people, not a single one of them had unsheathed their blades. The current Qing continent's tyrannical mounts were renowned in the sacred Saint Galaxy, and were publicly acknowledged as one of the top 10 elite troops. As he finished speaking, he took a step forward. The 10 people behind him bent their bodies slightly at the same time. They held on to their swords and took a step forward. With just one step, their lights merged into one. Without any warning, the aura that had soared to the limit and was on the verge of exploding suddenly disappeared without a trace. The 3 people who were still standing in the field spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time and collapsed to the ground. Shi Sen's lips curled into a smile. However, that smile did not contain any warmth. It was as cold as ice. The mockery of these people just now had long made his stomach full of fire. The crowd roared with laughter. He called out to his companions behind him and left. His voice wasn't loud, but in the dead silence, everyone could hear him. Ah Sang's intuition was the strongest out of all of them. With this, he had saved their fates on the battlefield several times. They trusted Ah Sang's intuition deeply. Time jumped to 26 seconds. More than half of the people laughed and stood up, while the others watched the show with a look of anticipation. In the past, the reputation of the underworld continent's demonic mounts was already bad, and only amateurs who did not know anything would choose the underworld continent's demonic mounts. Shi Sen casually shouted, 7, 8, 9. His confidence did not come from nowhere. Along the way, they had already defeated many strong opponents. Towards strong opponents, Tang Tian was never the least bit afraid. His right hand similarly held onto Evening Snow Ocean's blade hilt, and his aura suddenly soared. Before they left, a few of the Qing continent's tyrannical mounts did not conceal their hostility towards Shi Sen and the rest. Who is that guy? Underworld continent's demonic mounts? The lady in charge of receiving them nodded her head. Yes, Region D, please follow me. Your blade is not bad. The short-haired man glanced at Evening Snow Ocean in Shi Sen's hands and continued, if we meet in the battlefield in the future, I will not hold back just because you are old. Let's go, uncles, you should leave early. Tang Tian did not stay in the hotel either. Everyone, keep a low profile for the next few days. There have been many experts recently, so don't cause any trouble. Humph, it is their fortune that we have taken a fancy to his blade. A group of old men who are so old that they can barely walk, do not have the qualifications to own such a good blade. But upon stepping into the mercenary center, his expression became serious. What made him even more unhappy was that because the two of them had the word Sin in their names, the boss called him De Sin and called Han Sen Air Senator Bang. Compared to the other party, they were truly a motley crew. Underworld continent's demonic mounts? Ah, here comes a rookie. But the light auras of the 10 of them merged into one. Everyone could not believe their ears. The last 3 who persevered were all injured because of this formless attack. It's normal to not recognize him. Young Miss Qin Yuran is here. How many people have come here? I reckon he is here for young Miss Qin Yuran. It's good to be a rookie, easy to trick. Who knows, he might even open his business today. Shi Sen's mouth suddenly revealed a ridiculing smile, and the 10 people behind him also revealed ridiculing smiles. A group of people walked out of the mercenary center and one of them asked, Ah Sang, why aren't we taking action? That blade is truly strong. although it has not been unsheathed, but I can feel that it is very strong. The light aura in his eyes became colder, and the evening snow ocean in his hand was slowly raised. Applause came out from behind. It was a short-haired man who was praising. I never thought that I would be able to see the real underworld continent's demonic mounts. You truly have some talent. But a pity all of you are old and are not our opponents. You will not be able to see the underworld continent's demonic mounts at their peak. If not, you would have the qualifications to spar with our Qing continent's tyrannical mounts. May I ask what you need? A lady came forward with a face full of smiles. Energy surged frantically around Zhou Xian and the rest, one after another of dazzling light scars rose up like a whirlwind. Everyone looked at each other. They did not suspect that Ah Sang was hallucinating. Tang Tian had long handed the task of selecting the underworld continent's demonic mounts to Zhou Xian, and Tang Tian was curious as to how Zhou Xian would select the real underworld continent's demonic mounts from the group of people. Initially, Zhou Xian had planned to head to the underworld continent to recruit, but they were lacking in manpower, so he suggested to try his luck at the city's mercenary center. A motley crew. This ear-piercing word entered everyone's ears, but all of them who had bad tempers and would fight with just a word of disagreement, were all standing there in a daze. Master, this is White Sands City's largest mercenary center. All of the nearby mercenaries with decent standards will all come here to look for work. There are many trading companies in White Sands City, and there are also many caravans, so we often need to replenish our manpower. There are even some rich landlords nearby who will come because of its reputation. Han Sen's lackey was extremely flattering. If they are able to catch your eye, then they are truly blessed from their past lives. One after another, figures flew out. They fiercely smashed into the wall. Two of them even suffered light injuries, blood seeping out from the corner of their mouths. All of them had faces of shock. Ah Sang listened to everyone's discussion, but was thinking back to the scene just now. He could not understand why the seemingly ordinary young man would give him such a dangerous feeling. Bang bang. Underworld continent's demonic mounts. Have you guys seen the real underworld continent's demonic mounts? The enemy is stronger than you think. Who exactly is he? Ah Sang's expression congealed. He spoke while walking. You guys did not notice the young man behind the old man. He is very dangerous. The last two words came out from Zhou Xian's mouth. He did not hesitate to cover his face that was filled with disdain, and spat out the words, a motley crew. The Qing continent's tyrannical mounts were currently the most elite soldiers, and in the past 2 years of small and big battles, their figures could be seen everywhere. They were extremely impactful and valiant, and they had absorbed the mistakes made by the underworld continent's demonic mounts in the past. The Qing continent's management of the tyrannical mounts was extremely strict, and upon discovering any imposters, they would chase and kill them. Zhou Xian's expression remained the same, only the cold intent in his eyes became even more biting cold. The last time when he withdrew all of his power was the true transformation, and was a strike that surpassed everyone's imagination. This Mr. wishes to recruit underworld continent's demonic mounts. Those who fit the criteria, please step forward and accept the interview. The lady said loudly. Tuning 30. Yes. Ah Sang's eyes had a trace of lingering fear. When I noticed the blade in the old man's hand, the young man looked at me, and at that time, all of the hairs on my body stood up. That guy just looked at me casually. There were only 20 people left who were able to persevere and not move. 1819. Bang. The competition was extremely intense. It was as though the scene where they were on the verge of exploding was an illusion. The aura he emitted became more and more astonishing, and the energy in the room became more and more active. Many people realized that the energy in their bodies was showing signs of losing control. Richard found Tang Tian and asked for a sum of money, then left. Another 6 people could not hold on any longer and retreated backwards. 3 of them felt their legs go soft and fell on their butts. At that moment no one was laughing at them. Everyone looked at Zhou Xian and the rest in fear. Is he still Ah Sang? Pa, Qing continent's tyrannical mounts? Zhou Xian squinted his eyes. Zhou Xian asked, are there any underworld continent's demonic mounts? A group of people started talking. All of them did not understand. Ah Sang was not someone who was easy to talk to. And at that moment, the evening snow ocean in Zhou Xian's hand had already reached its highest point. His aura had also reached its peak, like a reservoir that was filled to the brim. I'll go too. An astonishing aura exploded out without any warning. The surging killing intent caused the temperature in the room to drop below 0 degrees. Being caught off guard, a majority of the saints felt as though their chests were struck by a heavy blow. They retreated 7 to 8 steps, before stopping with faces full of shock. Following behind the lady, a group of people arrived at Area D. Area D was filled with mercenaries waiting to be selected. Most of them came from poor and destitute areas. Other than killing people, they did not have any other abilities. They who did not have any life skills could only wait here every day, waiting to be selected. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.